Sigs in chat. 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 What is up? Welcome to the Motorsport Report. Motorsport news for you. I'm your host, Chase Holden. Today we have a lot of shit to talk about. The NASCAR versus 2311 FRM trial is happening live right now in Charlotte, North Carolina. There have been updates. I've been following it for the last 2 days. I want to give a big shout out to Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi and Dirty Mo Media for doing the teardown. They got over 76,000 people watch their live up as of right now on Dirty Mo Media channel. Sigs in chat for Jeff and Jordan, keeping us all in the loop. They're doing a great job. Obviously, I'm following the court case for multiple different sources on X, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But just got to give a big shout out to them for putting on daily, nightly live episodes. So if you haven't got to check those out after we get done with Motorsport Report today, be on the lookout on YouTube for tonight, because Jordan and Jeff should be doing another one for day 3. They're just kind of giving you all the deets and all the things you need to know. It's getting a little smoky in the chat. It's how we like it. Sigs in chat. My wife's gone today, so maybe I could fire up one in the old home office, you know. Might get a camera. It's kind of the time for that. If I did that, though, she would kill me for the rest of the time. That's why we Zen. Shout out to the boys in Zimbabwe, as always. I do want to say, for anybody else out there, before we get going, we're going to talk all NASCAR 2311 lawsuit stuff. We'll go over a couple of updates that are happening in the world of NASCAR. Some INDYCAR news has broke. We'll briefly go over that. We'll talk a little bit of Gateway Dirt Nationals and Snowball Derby later in the show today. But before we talk about that, at 1 o'clock today, we're going to have a special guest on the show, a man that is pretty close to Denny Hamlin. He produces Actions Detrimental at Dirty Mo Media. His name is Travis Rockhold. He'll be on today to talk to us a little bit about what it's like working with Denny and what it's like producing Actions Detrimental, working with Dirty Mo Media. And for all of you that watch college football, you all know that the state that I was born in recently got a new coach that pissed off a lot of people up there at the Grove. And I might start watching college football again because Lane Kiffin is an LSU Tiger. I don't even watch college football anymore like I used to. I used to get fucked up down there in Death Valley, though, in them younger days. You know, we used to get like these Ziploc bags full of Old Crow whiskey, and we would stick them in our pockets back when you couldn't have alcohol in the stands, and we would just stick them in our pockets, go through the metal detectors, and we would rip them with our teeth and pour it in our Cokes so we could have whiskey Cokes and whiskey Sprites. That's the way we used to do it before I stopped drinking, of course. I got a lifetime's worth of fucked up between the ages of 13 and 28, I think. I'll be 6 years. I've made 6 years sober this week. 6 years sober, no alcohol. 6 years, no alcohol. Just made that at the end of November. So shout out to me. But I did want to say, too, I know we're squirreling, but the reason I have swapped to Wintergreen Zen is I recently read some studies, found out that the Wintergreen Zen is the purest form of Zen. A lot of these other Zens out there have like cooling agents and shit, synthetic stuff in them, and I was like, I don't want that. So we get the pure Zen. Whiskey in the chat, yeah. Ryan says, had to make sure you know which bags are the whiskey bags, which are the very true, very true. You never know. But yeah. So that was just my intro. We're getting in loose here. Always shout out to NOS Energy. Go to the store today. Tell them Chase sent you when you pay for it. When they ask who's Chase, don't answer them. Just leave. I've also found a new what is it called? Is it? I'm not that good with like terminology. Is that is an acronym? Might not be an acronym. You tell me. But not ordinary shit, because it's not. It's NOS. It's NOS energy. Fuel for your body. No synthetics, dude. We don't play those games, dude. I'm trying to get high-octane fuel for my body. That's what we're doing. So let's get started. Like I said, we have a lot. Source, trust me, bro. We have a lot to do, but always, this show is not just about me. This show is about you, the viewer. If you would like, at any time during this show, except for our guest spot, you can call 980-317-8717. I want to hear from you guys today. I want to know your thoughts on this trial. I want to know where your head's at from everything that we've learned. So like I said, we will go over everything that I think that I've kind of put together a little sheet of like 10 really important things that we have figured out since this trial has started. The lighting's weird. So 10 very important things since this trial started that we're going to dig into today. So I'll make sure to go over those things. And then at any moment, if you guys want to call in, talk to me about what's on your mind, 980-317-8717. It could be anything from NASCAR legal. Right now, I say let's take some NASCAR legal calls. This would be a good time for NASCAR legal calls. And as we swap subjects in this show, sometimes we're a little all over the place. But as we swap subjects in this show, that's kind of the way we'll move with direction of calls. So if you got a call about INDYCAR, maybe wait till later in the show. Call about Gateway Dirt Nationals or Snowball Derby, maybe call later in the show when we're talking about it. I expect the majority of phone calls, if we do get a lot of phone calls today, to be about the NASCAR lawsuit. And I'm very interested to hear fan perspective from that. So catching up here in the chat a little bit before we get started. This probably sounds bad because I know how important this trial is, but I'm just exhausted and I have stopped following it. Holy shit. That's from Ryan here in the chat. And they're trying to get me to switch to Velo. I don't know. Right now they got 5 packs of Zen for $15 down at the Circle K, dude. So I've been hitting that up, dude. 5 cans of Zen for $15. I used to buy cartons of Marlboro Lights for $60. You know, back when I was ripping. I'm more of a Camel Turkish Golds guy now, but wild stuff. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people maybe feel like how Ryan feels right now. And I've talked to some fans about it. And it really is. I mean, even myself, like, look, don't get me wrong. Like, I just want to be as informed as possible. And I want to be able to provide the information that I've found to you guys, because I know that not everybody wants to sit there all day long. And not a lot of people have the ability to sit all day long and do this. I'm very grateful for what I'm able to do, but not everybody has the ability to sit around and follow this court case all day long. So I feel like it's kind of my job to give that to you guys, the viewers, to kind of keep you up to date on everything that's happening. So we'll start this thing off. We want to be Zen-formed. You got to stay Zen-formed. You know, I got a Zen. I might put 2 in. These are 3s. I'm thinking about moving up to 6 after this court case. I'm going to be honest. I've got 2 Zens in now. 2 3s equal 1 6 milligram Zen. I'm going to need to move up to 6s after this court case is done. Because holy shit, there's a lot of stuff that came out yesterday that I think, oh, by the way, I went Joey Logano. I don't know if I told you all that. I went full Joey. I was like, you know what? I gave Joey a lot of shit about, like, Hair Club. You know, and then he shaved his head, and I was like, man, like, you know, I'm balding. I was like, I can't give that man shit no more. And I went over to my bathroom, and I got the clippers, and I won it. So shout out to Joey for being a man. I didn't get to say that last week. Joey has now accepted his fate as a bald man, and because of his bravery, I won my head. So I won my head. That means I put the 1 on the clip, and I went hard. So there we go. I still left sideburns, though. I still left my Jimmy Johnsons. I had to keep them. But that's enough about me for today. Let's get into why you guys are here. Let's talk about what we know so far in the trial. So again, make sure you tune in. There'll be a day 3 tonight on Dirty Mo Media's YouTube channel. And if you subscribe to the Teardown podcast with Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi, Jeff's a good buddy of mine. So I just got to give a plug, a quick shout out to him. And of course, Dirty Mo Media represent. The 10 talking points that I want to dive into. The first one, and this is from me gathering all of the tweets, all of Bob Pockrass's his articles that he's written, everything from the teardown that I've watched. I kind of like wanted to put together this pool of information. We all know that the NASCAR is obviously going into this thing. They didn't look great. It didn't look good because all the text messages came out, and they can't use all that in court. But publicly, to the public eye and to the NASCAR fans, it all started kind of tipping towards, you know, the teams, the fans, and I think a lot of people are. They had a jury selection, which was fucking hilarious on Monday. Apparently, one of the guys that was in the jury, his hobby is heavy drinking. He wrote that down. You would have thought that would have been a NASCAR fan, but no, apparently that guy is still on the jury. So we've got a heavy drinker on the jury for this case. And I thought it was pretty funny because when they were trying to get the jury, there were a couple of them that, you know, because anytime you select a jury, you have to make sure there's no biases. You want to make sure that you're going to get a very unbiased group of people that can determine who's right, who's wrong, who wins, who loses. So there was some Michael Jordan fans. They got dismissed. There was a woman that was very obviously not a fan of Denny Hamlin. She got dismissed. And they tried to make the jury as many non-NASCAR fans as possible, which I think they did a pretty good job of that. So just something to kind of take note on. Listing heavy drinking as a hobby is such an alpha power move. That guy rules, says Ryan in the chat. Yeah, that's pretty hilarious because you would think that a guy like that would easily be, you know, the NASCAR watcher, the race car watcher. You know, most guys go to a racetrack, you drink some beer, whatever. It's not the case. So the things here that we want to look at, that, you know, and I want to try to not go over anything that we've already went over, which is kind of hard. So the big thing to watch for today, the big thing that I'm going to be following is apparently Richard Childress is going to be called to testify from the plaintiffs. Okay. That's a big, big moment because they didn't use Richard Childress's text messages in the trial. So the fact that you have Richard Childress now coming up on the stand, it's almost like the workaround, right? It's like, we can't use those text messages. Richard's even thinking about starting his own fucking trial against NASCAR for defamation. Don't really know how that's going to play out, but I guess we'll see. We'll find out. But that's going to lead to some interesting things, and hopefully while we are live today, we'll be able to go through some of that stuff. I haven't seen much new come out other than what everybody was talking about on the side of, I think it was Scott Prime was on the stand, and I've been seeing some stuff come out. Toby Christie, one of the more recent ones about an hour ago, he says, we're under morning recess during day 3 of the NASCAR trial. Scott Prime is still on the stand, although it appears Jeffrey Kessler is done, so he should have a less difficult line of questioning from here on out. And some of those questions we can get into as more information comes out. We don't have to go balls deep into the questioning. I'm keeping an eye on my notifications, though. I have notifications turned on for the majority of the people that I know are at the courtroom, so we can get up to the minute stuff, but they basically make you lock your phone up in court. So, yeah, it's going to be kind of tough. Triple the Hop says Richard is going to have the judge hold his watch. Childress' testimony will be insane. It really will be. I think that's the big thing, right? That's the big thing everyone's waiting on. We want, especially if you're on the side of 2311, you're on the side of you know, wanting to see MJ and Denny, you know, take it to the house. You're ready to hear this because I feel like for a long time I've always said I would like a settlement. I want to see a settlement because I care about NASCAR. Maybe, you know, it's been very revealing how the people that run NASCAR are. And I don't think a lot of people, I think it's okay to say that you love NASCAR, maybe not the people running it, because and some people have a hard time with that because it's like maybe NASCAR as a thing, as an entity, as something that a lot of people grew up with. That's important. That needs to kind of stay and stick around. That's what a lot of us want. That's what I want. NASCAR, the name, is bigger than the people that run it. And so when I speak like that, I want it to be very clear what I mean, that I want NASCAR to thrive. I want NASCAR to be good. It's kind of like when you're a fan of an NFL team. I'm from Louisiana. I love the Saints. Did I like Dennis Allen? Fuck no. But I like the Saints. The Saints are whoever wears the logo. The Saints are whoever is in the building at the present time. That's the way I view NASCAR. So, do I want to see maybe some new people come in? Yeah. And I don't think I'm alone wanting to see new people take over that. But if this thing does drag all the way out and it does get resulted in, the judge or the jury making decisions, there's not a lot of NASCAR fans on the jury. The judge himself has already said, y'all need to fucking settle. I don't know what it looks like. And so that's what's scary, I think, for me personally as a fan of NASCAR. NASCAR, the entity. NASCAR bigger than the people running NASCAR. So when I say NASCAR, I want everyone to know I'm not talking about Jim France. I'm not talking about Steve O'Donnell. I'm not talking about Steve Phelps. I'm talking about NASCAR. The fucking logo. That's what I'm talking about. The logo. I want NASCAR to thrive. I want NASCAR to be great. I want NASCAR to continue to grow. People come and people go all the time. So, am I a little bit more in favor of wanting to see the teams win? Yeah, of course. Because, I think that what Denny's doing is admirable. And Denny really shined and kind of, from what I've gathered and what we'll go over today, he's really laid it out for the jury. So apparently when Denny went in and he was on the stand, he talked a lot. He was explaining things to the jury in a way to where if they had never seen NASCAR, they had never watched it before, he was instead of answering just yes or no questions with a yes or no, he was looking at the jury and saying, okay, so this is how this works, and this is how this works, and this is why this works. You don't really get that a lot. And so I think that ultimately speaks to how much Denny Hamlin cares about what he sacrificed all of his life for. He sacrificed and his family sacrificed to get him into NASCAR so that he could compete at the top levels. I think another big revelation that we found out is how much Denny Hamlin makes per year. $14 million a year is what Denny Hamlin makes. Now, to a lot of us common folk, people like myself, the working class, $14 million is a lot of money. To an athlete or a driver or a racer, as he calls himself, at the highest level of stock car racing in the world, compared to F1 drivers, compared to NFL players, compared to, and you know what, we don't even have to get into MLB and NFL players. A lot of people have already came out and said stuff like that. This is racing. So I think the best way for me to describe how different it is, and maybe a lot of it's just because F1 is blown up, but just to give you some understanding, Max Verstappen makes $65 million a year, okay, in F1. You've got Lewis Hamilton at $60 million, Charles Leclerc at $34 million, Fernando Alonso, Lando Norris, they're at around $20 million, George Russell, $15 million. Denny Hamlin makes $14 million at the pinnacle of stock car racing. So the pinnacle of open wheel racing, as people like to call it, Formula 1. Those guys are getting paid big money. Now, I get it. Money comes from different places with the FIA. Things are different, whatever. It's the world. They race on a world stage. So I can understand those things. But yeah, Alan here in the chat says he has to be the highest paid driver. And it's crazy, because you would think that, someone like a Denny Hamlin would be up in way higher than 14 million. I would at least suspect 30. But we found that out. So what does that say? That to me, in my opinion, that just makes things even stronger, because you're like, damn, you're sitting here thinking this whole time, like, these guys, they get the big bucks. They're at the top of their game. They're at the top of their craft. No. $14 million is a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, of athletes and pro sports, it's not a ton. So I found that to be really interesting. Kessler, the theme of day 1 and day 2, and he hammered this over and over, and this is important too, because NASCAR Legal, they were on the stand. Denny Hamlin, I think the big first thing that came out that a lot of people were talking about yesterday was how NASCAR's counsel, Butterman, somebody typoed and said Butterbean. I saw where Butterbean from Cars Tour in ARCA had mentioned something. He was like, yeah, I got my mullet in the court. He was fucking around. But Denny was basically like questioned about Kenny Wallace show, which shout out to Kenny. We had Kenny on last week for our Thanksgiving show. He came on, and that was great. You guys, that was one of my highest viewed videos that I had, one of the interviews. So big shout out to everybody that watched that. Appreciate you guys for doing that. They mentioned Kenny Wallace show in court, and the whole argument was, it's like, oh, well, you've praised NASCAR. You've said great things. And I think that this is so important, because people that didn't know this need to know this. And I feel like maybe, like, for me, it was common sense, but I feel like maybe there were some people that really didn't know this. Like, Denny's answered and said, I say things sometimes to make NASCAR look good. Pretty much anybody that plays in a pro sport or whatever, they want the thing that they're, that they're honing their craft through to look good. So, of course, you're going to sit there and you're going to say, yeah, like, I said those things because I wanted people to like NASCAR. Like, he brought up things about where he was talking about the next gen car. He brought up stuff where he was talking about how, like, the charter system was good. And then NASCAR's counsel, they look at him and they're like, so you were lying. And I think that that's the moment where you see the truth really come out. And there's no going back from it now. Denny answered, he said, yeah, because if I don't talk good about it, I'm going to get reprimanded. Action's detrimental. It's a podcast. It's his podcast. It's his show. And that's a term that's used, like, when you talk bad about something. Like, I know people that have made the smallest public comments that got shit canned from NASCAR for making a criticism. Like, if you're on the lower end of the hierarchy and you get in there and then you say something bad, dude, and you ain't built your name up to a high enough level, they'll fucking can you, dude. It's simple. And I think that by Denny saying that now, it makes it to where, maybe more people will come out and be honest about it, because it's just something people didn't talk about. It's just something people didn't want to say, because people want to work in NASCAR. People want to be in the good graces of NASCAR, to be able to cover the sport. And that goes into a lot of what I was talking about weeks ago on this show, about how when you listen to XM NASCAR radio, that is NASCAR's radio station. And if people are getting all that information from that one source, you need to understand that that is being filtered through NASCAR. Why would they say anything bad? And yeah, like, I mean, people are afraid to talk like that because, they don't want to lose opportunities. And it takes some people to come along and be brave enough to just say it like it is. And, I really commend Denny for that. But Denny's in a situation now where there's no going back, and he's been very vocal. And it's just really cool to see some of this, because I know a lot of people that have tried to work in this industry and that have tried to I'm one of them, and you find out real quick how the game is played. And it's dirty. It's slimy. And it's like, a lot of people come in just passionate because they love racing and they love, everything about it. And it's like, you can't take a little bit of constructive criticism. Like, you can't you can't really listen, and if enough people are saying something, like, you'd rather just shut them up. Like, I get that a lot of shit's about money at the end of the day, but sometimes, like, a thing can be more important than money. And in this case, like, racing is a hobby that a lot of people have. Watching races is a huge thing in America for a lot of people, whether it's dirt, whether it's asphalt, whether it's F1, whether it's you care about it, and it's hard not to care about it. So to see that NASCAR council try to basically twist him up, he's doing his job, I get it. But to see him try to twist him up on his words like that was just one of those moments where I was like, whoa. Like, because now it's out in the open. Denny said it. You'll get reprimanded. Like, you'll get called in. People get fined. Remember how vocal Tony Stewart used to be? Remember how vocal Kyle Busch used to be? You don't really hear about it a lot anymore because nobody wants to have to pay money because you talk shit about something. And so a lot of this coming out and coming to light is important for the fans. It's important for people to understand kind of like how this whole game is played. So that moving forward, maybe we can do a better job of, like, really coming together as a fan base, letting the drivers come together. Hey, thanks for the sub, brother. I appreciate you. Slingshot engaged. You brought Dale on the screen. Good job. So I'm really happy about that because it's like a post I put out yesterday. In a world full of lies, honesty kind of moves away. And in order to get things right, honesty is important. And it's important for people to be honest. It's important for people to say what they feel. It's important for people to kind of be able to call it like it is sometimes, because you might be in a position kind of like the Francis and the leadership of NASCAR where they're, I'm not saying everybody that works for NASCAR is bad. I'm just saying that, like, you can get blinded to things when you're in that bubble for so long. And it sometimes takes people on the outside to be like, hey, have you thought about this? Have you seen this? Have you do that? And if people are afraid to do that because they're fearful of losing their job, or they're fearful of having to be punished, it's going to shut people up. And so that's not so much about the lawyer aspect of it as it is about the entire system. But, I thought that was a big, big part. And I did see some people come out on X that were kind of talking about that point, which I thought was great. And so that's in my eyes, like I said, I'm kind of a glass half full guy. I tend not to be a doomer so much. I don't want to be a doomer. I like to see the good in things. And I also am, I can forgive but I don't forget. But what I say is like, this is a good spot for us now. I feel like if everything kind of gets to a point to where we do end up going back racing, because they're already announcing, NASCAR's announcing that Daytona's coming out, teams are coming out with their new paint schemes for 2026. Everything's kind of in line for everything to go forward. We haven't really heard much on the whole playoff system or anything like that, and I don't think we're going to hear about anything like that probably until January. But what I am saying is that I do think that if the teams win this, there's obviously is going to be a fucking regime change. I don't really see how O'Donnell and Phelps can stay in the spots that they're in with all of this out in the light. A lot of the people that were exposed talking shit and talking ill about other people, I don't see how they stick around in this reforming of whatever NASCAR does become after this. And I think that that's fair to say. And if I'm wrong, I would love it if somebody would correct me. But I think that when I say that, I think I'm saying that from a place of a lot of thought has went into it, and you kind of look around at other sports industries, and usually when things like that happen, you don't see those people return. I think back in April, they had an announcement that Phelps was looking to possibly go be the commissioner of the PGA. A lot of these people that are up in here sometimes, like, maybe they're not always there for NASCAR. Maybe they're ladder climbing to get things in other sports. And I've experienced that in my time. I've talked to people about it. And I never really would publicly say anything to them like, well, that kind of sucks that you're like that. Like, you're here. Like, this is building NASCAR. This is building racing. Like, in my mind, I think that you should get people that grew up loving racing, and maybe it's hard to do. Maybe it's hard to do, and maybe I'm naive for thinking that. But what I'm saying is like having people that love racing, that care about it, that are passionate about it, and have a skill set to do a certain job within that system, those are the people I think you should go after. You know, I feel like there's a lot of people that probably apply to work at NASCAR that love NASCAR. So, and I know there's a lot of people that do work at NASCAR that love NASCAR, but in other areas and very important areas like decision-making areas, I think that you should have a skill and also have a passion and understanding of why you're there. And I think that that's important. Alan says, which sucks because I really like O'Donnell. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that like these guys, you know. And I never really listened to O'Donnell enough to have too much of an opinion on him. Like I've been around long enough to where I've paid a little bit more attention to Phelps, and I never really felt like I never got like a sincerity of like old school kind of like where like back in the day when you had like Big Bill and all that stuff, like there was passion attached to whatever that dictatorship or whatever you want to call it is. But at the end of the day, a system like that, passion attached to it is kind of like what Kenny Wallace was talking about last week. It's why all that worked back then, because there was passion attached to that authoritarianism. Like, and when you start bringing in people that don't really have that passion attached to the authoritarianism, that's when shit gets the way it is now, I feel like. So, just my take on that. Jeffrey Kessler saying emails don't lie, texts don't lie, internal documents don't lie, I think was a huge thing to bring up, especially for the jury, for if anybody that didn't really know about that. You know, witnesses can spin, forget, reword, documents can't. So I think that's a very important thing that Kessler kept bringing up yesterday in the trial. The NASCAR cost argument. Fans got to hear like a simple version of that. So I'm just going to kind of go over that a little bit quickly. $20 million is the cost to field a competitive cup car, according to Denny Hamlin. Charters only cover $12.5 million. Michael Jordan's brand is the only reason 23XI is profitable. And I can kind of understand that when you know, having a big name like Michael Jordan attached to that has done a lot for it. Getting to see the Jordan brand on cars has done a lot for it. There's a lot of shoe fans that started watching NASCAR because Jordan was a part of the game. So I feel like that is very fair to say, because when a new team comes in, especially under these premises, you know, you'll see a lot of them come and go. This one can be sticky because of MJ's involvement. Airspeed, which is the company that they also own together manufacturing, costs $35 million, not the $9 to $10 million that NASCAR assumed. They pay $8 million a year to Gibbs just for the technical alliance. So we got those figures that come out now. So he showed that NASCAR's economic model doesn't work unless you're Michael Jordan, unless you have money like that to just kind of blow and throw. Jordan's always been kind of a gambler. Jordan is the guy that has a shoe deal that basically pays him for every fucking shoe sold with his logo on it. He is one of the only people coming into this world of ours that can sustain this and keep this afloat. And I think that's a lot of why this lawsuit is actually happening, because they know they have the means to do it and to potentially make real change. Catching up in the comments here a little bit. We've got 23XI painted on a mural downtown along with some basketball stuff. Wouldn't have that without Jordan. There you go. So it's like that crossover world is awesome. It's great to see that, you know. I mean, Michael has always been a big part of Charlotte. He's from North Carolina. He played at NC. He owns the Charlotte Hornets. Used to be the Bobcats. Thought that was a lot cooler. But I was from Louisiana, so I grew up with the New Orleans Hornets. But now they're Charlotte, so shout out to the Hornets. But, yeah, I mean, it only really works with him. We already kind of went over everything about, you know, Hamlin and the lawyer trying to paint him as dishonest. You know, and then the judge right now, and I think after 2 days of this, especially after today, I think we're going to be a lot closer to figuring out if a settlement's actually going to happen or not. I did see that Dave here said, has anyone heard anything from Junior regarding the text regarding Childress? I haven't heard anything from Dale Jr. I don't think Dale Jr. has said a word about this, and there's a lot of people in the industry that haven't came out and said a word about it. A lot of the people that you hear talking about all this stuff, especially after the text, were just a lot of journalists, you know, a couple of people that do independent stuff off to the side of their normal, like, you know, I do an INDYCAR podcast with Connor Daly, Speed Street, with Dirty Mo. But this show, Motorsport Report, is kind of my own independent outlet on my YouTube channel, which is why I don't mind talking about these things, because I care about myself as a fan. That means I care about other fans, and that means I want people to kind of know this stuff. But typically, I think I wasn't surprised to see people being quiet. I mean, there were some people that came out and spoke, like Tommy Joe Martins is a guy that came out and spoke, which we may have on this program next week. He's got a really cool event coming up. So if you know who Tommy Joe Martins is, great guy, runs an Xfinity team, Alpha Prime, and we're going to talk with him, and I want to kind of get his thoughts on it too as a team owner in the lower series from Cup. But you got a couple of those guys that are talking, like Matt Tifft came out and talked because he had the whole deal with Live Fast Racing with BJ McLeod, and as you saw in those text messages, they shit on that team, basically calling them a fucking government-funded team and shit like that. So Matt Tifft did a YouTube video. I talked a little bit about that last week. He came out. He's still selling the stupid redneck shirts and stuff, which I think is funny. So I know that there are some people that talk about this stuff, but I wouldn't expect to hear from, like, big names, like really like Junior, until a lot of this stuff is settled. Once this stuff is settled, I think that you'll see, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe one thing, can change that, which would be whatever happens today on the stand, which I'm going to kind of go run as I'm talking to you guys to see if there's anything new. Bob Pockers does have a new post. NASCAR trial on lunch break. Scott Prime of NASCAR testimony continued with him being asked questions by NASCAR attorney. Began pretty much with trying to show benefits of 2016 charter and then into the back and forth of negotiations for 2025 deal. So NASCAR is on lunch break right now. So I assume that it's probably going to be a little bit later whenever they bring Childress up to the stand. But I haven't seen anything come out about when Childress is coming up. I think that's what a lot of us are waiting on. That's going to be kind of like, I feel like in my mind, that's going to be what determines whether we see a settlement or not. Because this is Richard Childress' first time after coming out with that official statement from RCR saying that he's considering, filing suit. So Kessler's going to get to ask him questions. That's the lawyer for 2311 and FRM. That's going to be fun. So I don't know. We'll see. Like if we get a post up after we have Travis on the show today, while we're in our last hour, I may extend the show and just hang out with you guys so that we can find out in real time. Of course, would still love to hear from some of you guys. 980-317-8717 if you want to get those calls in to talk a little bit about the court case and everything else going on. But that was, that's going to kind of be the telltale, because the judge is begging both sides to settle. He's been begging both sides to settle this thing. And it's just, that's kind of going back to what I was saying in the beginning. That's a scary thing to wonder, well, fuck, if it's out of NASCAR's hand and it's out of 2311 FRM's hand, what does NASCAR look like going into 2026? And NASCAR's already came out and said that, they would fully go to an appeal process. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but we're going to have our first caller of the day. Motor call ended. Wow, that was quick. Okay. Maybe they'll call back, maybe not. We'll see. If that was you calling and you're watching, feel free to call back. But that's the scary part, because it could go a lot of different ways. And I don't really know much about Judge Bell, but what I will say is this, I would hope that Judge Bell, let's say the teams do win. The jury makes a decision that the teams win. Judge Bell has to make a decision on what happens. I would hope that he knows enough about NASCAR and the fan base and how it works to put the hammer down that would be something fair enough to where it couldn't be argued by NASCAR. I don't know. Motorsport Report, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Not ringing?
Hello? You're live.
Oh, snap. Hang on one second.
What's your name? Where you calling from? We got our first caller.
I hear you.
You can't hear me? Oh, no.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, sorry about that.
What's your name? Where you calling from?
It's JB calling back. Second time caller.
What's up, JB? How we doing today, brother?
So far, so good. I love this trial stuff. This stuff is riveting, man.
Yeah, it really is. Only if we had cameras in federal court, right?
Oh, dude, I'd be watching like crazy.
Be glued, man. True TV. They could use the NASCAR contract to put it on True TV. You know, it used to be Court TV.
They get more ratings than a race.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, what's on your mind today, JB? What are you? How are you looking at this whole court case? From fans' perspective, like what's the big things that are sticking out to you, or the things that are kind of getting under your skin? Like what's the vibe like?
Okay, well, first for the listeners, I'm a little biased. I'm a 2311 fan and a Denny Hamlin fan. So
okay,
just for the record,
wouldn't have been on the jury. You wouldn't have been on the jury, that's for sure. Yeah.
Hell no, I'd have tried like crazy. But some of the things that stuck out is like I have 3 points. One, NASCAR stealing sponsorship from teams. Like now, like NASCAR could literally, if they wanted to, put a team out of business and steal their sponsorship. Like, come on. Yeah. What are you doing? That's crazy.
It is.
Then one of the other points was trying to make Denny Hamlin out like he's a liar and you can't trust what he says.
Right.
Carson Hocevar got fined $50,000 for his Mexico City comments. You think NASCAR won't fine a driver for actions detrimental to the sport? They do it all the time.
Yep.
And then I think it was on the teardown, they were making a deal about how 2311 is paying Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin for the building. That's just a business move.
Yeah.
Businesses do that all the time. I can lease my own semi-truck to myself and make payments to my business.
Exactly.
Like, that's just a tax loophole.
That's understanding the laws of business. It just kind of goes to show they can use that, because I think most common Americans work a 9 to 5. They clock in, they clock out. Unless you own a business and unless you kind of like are your sole proprietor, or you have an LLC, like you don't really kind of understand the way that you can move money around like most people would. Most people are just getting their paycheck, putting it in the bank account, filing their taxes at the end of the year with their W-2. So that's definitely one of those things where you got to kind of be on the business end to understand how that's going. So for them to kind of put that out there, I think that was more of a move like on the general public that aren't business owners, like to where you could kind of like try to twist and play with the perception of it.
Yeah. And I love the fact that from the reports that Denny's like breaking stuff down like he does on this podcast and really explaining this stuff to those people, because what it sounds like is you got a bunch of people that don't know shit about the sport. So, but
yeah, that's the way the jury's sitting right now, man. I mean, they have to do that. I mean, that's fair. That's the way that we do things in America with the court system. So I do understand that, but I do think it was awesome that he did, kind of explain it to that way, because, like you said, they mentioned on the teardown where it was kind of like he was doing a podcast, because we all know good and damn well that they're not going to talk about Denny's podcast whatsoever. Like, they don't even mention that, like, because there was a whole big deal too about the DAP program that really upset Denny, and he had every right to be, because he literally is one of the drivers that has his own show that puts that out. And his argument about how like that's NASCAR kind of undermining the teams to find ways to get those direct relationships with them, to pay them directly. It's like a step toward eventually just NASCAR fielding cars and hiring drivers. And that's a scary thought.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with their gold codes or whatever they had planned. Bringing up all the truck and Xfinity teams and just putting them in their cars. Like, everything points at like NASCAR should be broken up. It's a monopoly. I know a lot of people want them to settle, but I don't know, man. I don't think you can. Did you get a chance to read that letter from Mrs. Gibbs or whatever?
I did, like, yeah, from Heather.
Like, that was like emotional reading that shit. Like, you just want to be partners with you, but yet you don't want to be partners with us.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think a lot of people feel that way. And I mean, it all points back really now. And like, they can't bring up the whole SRX thing in court, I don't think, because those text messages don't make it in. But it really, like, if you're painting a picture from the outside of the courtroom, like looking at all the evidence that we have now, like, it really seems like SRX triggered them so much to start like putting these binding things down. And it's like, because like that was maybe like the taste of like what could happen. And so it all seems like after the SRX launch, that's when a lot of this clampdown stuff started, or it was like right before, maybe the year when they announced that they were going to do it. And I got to go back and check the timeline to make sure 100%, but it seems like that kind of got them stirring. And then of course they mentioned, you know, the Live Golf PGA split, which is another thing. So it was almost like it was all stacking in the background, and now it's all out there. So like when I think about it, when I look at the move to the next gen car, how they were doing all their parts, how they're doing everything, it makes sense. Like if this court case would never happen, like they were trying to build slowly to that model where they could just have it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know, I know that the lady that they had on the teardown mentioned that there's a team that's not making any money, but is on NASCAR side that's going to testify. You have any inkling of who that team is? Because nobody will mention them.
Yeah, I was hoping that she was going to say who she thought it was, but if we're really like trying to narrow it down, like the first one that came to mind for me was Spire. But then I was like, well, with one of their business guys being involved in those text messages, I don't know if that would be smart. Not saying that they won't, but it makes sense. It made the most sense. But like, I feel like if they did bring Spire to the stand, there's already stuff out there publicly where people can kind of tie it, like, oh, well, they might be kind of working with NASCAR in the background because of Dickerson and all the text that they had. So Spire was my original thought. Other than that, man, like I don't know if I can't say I know, but just based off of guesses, Spire was my first choice. Legacy crossed my mind, but Richard Petty's been very vocal about like how he doesn't like the direction of the playoffs and he doesn't like the direction. Now he is he's very attached to NASCAR because of who he is and what's going on. They might be another team where I could see they were losing some money coming into it with Jimmy Johnson being involved. I just like Legacy makes sense. Spire makes sense, even though I think that would be stupid on NASCAR side to bring them up. But
Gotta be Hendrick.
Yeah. Well, Hendrick was one that like, it definitely crosses your mind, but I think maybe it escapes people's minds because they're like, oh, they're not profitable. But like, if you really think about it from a business perspective, like Hendrick has all of the capabilities of not being profitable because of all the money that Rick Hendrick makes outside of racing. So
exactly
on paper, yeah, you know, like you could say that easily, but I really don't think that for the public's view, especially if people are kind of listening to conversations we're having here on this show and people are doing a little bit of recon on how business works and how you could literally write off every dime you get for your business and say you had $0. Like, yeah, that could be Penske. That could be Hendrick. You know, that could be any of those guys. You know,
I think those are the only two. Penske and Hendrick are the only two that's got enough that they can write off.
Got a new sub.
I don't think it's RFK, and I don't think it's anybody else. It's either one of those two. But Hendricks also made the comment publicly that he hasn't made a profit since he can remember, or has never made a profit.
So that makes sense.
A little bit more favorable, but I don't know.
That makes a lot of sense too. Like if he's came out and he said that, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think most people will understand that like you cannot be profitable as a race team, but that doesn't mean, I think that like psychologically that's going to fuck people up because they see Rick Hendrick as this big, powerful businessman that has all this money. But it's like you and I were talking about, unless you understand kind of how these things work, like Hendrick Motorsports is just like an LLC, like a business that is owned on top of all the other businesses that Rick has. So he can afford to have that one business that doesn't do anything, and that's write-off shit, you know. So I think
why he can afford to fund that one car that's got his name on it.
Yeah, there you go.
That nobody else will sponsor.
But that would,
So
I think,
won't go there.
No, I think the general public though, like, probably won't suspect Hendrick like at all because of them saying, "Oh, it's not been profitable at all. Like they've lost $100 million." And I got to think, who can afford to lose that much money, right? So you may be on to something there, JB. I mean, I personally think that Hendrick does make sense on paper. People might be surprised because I feel like watch, I'm telling you, a lot of people online will probably be like, Hendrick makes all kinds of money. Da, da, da. It's like, nah, like that's why they can say that on those posts and stuff like that. So that's a good observation, and hopefully some people that are watching this can kind of see it from that lens now. So, but I don't know, like I said, Spire, Legacy, like I can't think of many other teams that would be in a situation where they could come out and say that they're not profitable. So,
yeah, and then these teams, like, they have to get money from other places. Look at Roush Fenway Group, and Joe Gibbs Racing sold a piece of their team, and all these teams got to partner up and combine together. And Richard Petty, GMS, and you got Jimmy Johnson coming in. It's like, if it was a viable business that could withstand long term, some profit, like they don't have to make 30% profit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hell, what is a restaurant only gets like 15%? At the end of the day, after all expenses, like they need something to be able to put in their pocket, for a rainy day. They have nothing. They're on a hope and a prayer. Second, NASCAR steps in and goes, you know what? I'm going to go after Geico and basically cause your whole race team to collapse. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, it makes you want. So I did see that, and I don't know, maybe you know a little bit more about it, but like with the whole Geico grab, was that after I know that it was Ty Dillon that used to race the 13. And
Casey Mears and Ty Dillon, I believe.
Okay, so it's like when that team folded, that's when they went after Geico?
I want to say I don't know if it was afterwards. It might have been during, because why would they leave? Because that's the only reason that team folded, is they were solely dependent on Geico.
Mm-hmm.
So if NASCAR approached them and poached them and knew that they were going to come be a premier partner, that's one of the things that they talked about, or that I saw. Maybe it was on the teardown or another thing I read from Front Stretch or something, but them taking that sponsor shut that team down, and then I think Denny said that was the opportunity that they got to buy a charter, was because of that.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
And of course, why wouldn't that team sell? You just lost your sponsorship, and I got nobody else, and ain't nobody sponsoring Ty Dillon, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Nothing against the guy, but
except for Colleague and Grizzly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get your Grizzly nicotine pouches. Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy right now. But let's get back to the show. I love it. Keep it up. We need a daily talk show about this, man.
Dude. If I can get if I can get a couple more sponsors involved in this program, I would love to make this a daily show. I really would. I would love to make this a daily thing, and that is my goal in the long run. So the more people we can get to watch, the more people can talk about this program, share this program, and I appreciate all the people that are watching right now. People like you that call in, that's how we get there, man. We just got to show the people that to be completely honest, you got to show people that there are people that can make some money, off of this stuff. So, we've gotten to the point to where it's like we're past how the world works at this point. We just, I appreciate everybody for supporting. And for wanting to be it. Yeah, Triple the Hop says the Motorsport Report, sponsored by Geico.
You need to go over there and start poaching Eric Eaststeps out of the group.
Yeah, I know, huh? Well, shout out to Eric, too, man. He's a good old dude. All right, well, JB, thanks so much for calling in, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, bud. Have a good one.
Good talk right there from JB. Now a recurring caller on this program. Shout out. So it is currently 12:53 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to have Travis Rockhold, producer of Actions Detrimental with Dirty Mo Media, on the program here at 1 p.m. We're going to, obviously you can get some questions in on the chat that you guys might have for Travis. If you know who Travis is, if you don't know who Travis is, you're going to get to find out today. I'm going to let him introduce himself and talk a little bit about, how he started working with Denny and and how that journey's been and where we are now. And then, of course, he's a humongous Ohio State college football fan. So I've heard that a lot of NASCAR fans like some college football, so may get his opinions on a little bit of that, especially now with Lane Kiffin going to LSU. I'm going to have to start watching college football again. Go Tigers! I was born and raised in Louisiana, if you didn't know. I will continue to hammer that in, so I feel like it's kind of important for me now to watch and support LSU football because of Lane Kiffin. They call him a hoe. Don't really know why. Maybe Travis can clear that up on why that is. Kind of going back over a little bit more of these notes, though, a lot of great stuff was brought up by JB that we were going to kind of talk about. Alan says Penn State to the bone. They ain't got no coach, do they? Might eventually have to tune out. Oh, shit. But yeah, after Travis, we'll talk a little bit about some other stuff going on in the racing world, some of the grassroots racing, Snowball Derby this week, Gateway Dirt Nationals. So we'll go into that. So we've already kind of went over the jury, but yeah, the Childress, we talked a little bit about how big that's going to be, and the SRX text kind of being like a skeleton key for the whole monopoly deal. And that's basically just because NASCAR executives admitted internally they wanted SRX gone. SRX is shut down, now looks way more sinister than people thought, even though Kenny did come on our show last week and say that, to his knowledge, it was a purely financial thing. It costs a lot of money to start a racing series. A lot of people don't make it. I know this IRHA series is now coming out. People have been kind of talking about that, but there's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot of money that's pumped into that. So NASCAR kind of being the long-running one, they've had a lot of years to build that up and get it to where it's at. But yeah, that's kind of a lot of what I was going to go over with my notes today on this lawsuit of kind of like where we're at. And before we kind of cut to a break, before Travis comes on, I'm going to check and see if there's any new updates. 13 minutes ago, Adam Stern says NASCAR's attorney asked Scott Prime about a cost cap and why it didn't get implemented, with the suggestion being that teams couldn't agree on it despite how it could increase team values. Prime was asked if Formula One teams have gone up in value since it added a cap. He said yes. So that is the latest that I've got. And again, I have notifications turned on for all major reporters. I'm going to have to hold calls at this point. I think that was one of our regular callers. If you could just call back after the interview here. We're going to take a quick break for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to be back, and I'll have Travis Rockhold on the show with us. So probably be about a 3-minute break. Don't go anywhere. Go grab you a snack, grab some popcorn, grab you a drink. And as soon as we return, we will be talking to Travis Rockhold, producer of Accidents Detrimental with Denny Hamlin, BRB.
What's going on, man? Yeah, 120 is when I gotta be out. How's things going? Good? Is he taking the same today? That's what I thought was good.
All right, we are back. I have now joining the Motorsport Report, Travis Rockhold, producer of Actions Detrimental at Dirty Mo Media. Travis, I wanted to start this off a little bit on the lighter side. You're an Ohio State fan, college football guy?
Yeah, you're probably more a fanatic than fan, but yeah.
Fanatic, okay. So I was born and raised in Louisiana. I'm now going to start watching LSU football again because Lane Kiffin is now with the Tigers. What is your initial thoughts on Lane Kiffin?
I love the hire. I think people are mad at him, but like Ole Miss is not the job that LSU is. They don't have the history. Like 11 wins, 10 wins, he's never getting fired at Ole Miss. 10 wins, the fans are gonna get mad at LSU. They win championships. Like recruiting in LSU is just easier. Like players don't leave Louisiana. Like they just don't. And then you ask Georgia and Florida and Texas. Like the area is just more fertile for him to recruit. Like, I mean, look at the roster he had this year. He's gonna bring back a lot of the guys. He'll get his own guys. The portal he's great at. Like, I would take the job too. Like, yeah, did he maybe make it a little messy at the end? Sure, but like the schedule is the schedule. I mean, we see Brian Hartline announcing he's leaving today on signing day. Like, these coaches are hurt by what the schedule is.
Yeah, it's a fascinating world. I know a lot of NASCAR fans are also college football fans, and like I've kind of like ever since I like left like college, I kind of like put it to the side and focused heavier on racing. So now I just felt like I had to get back in. Alan in the chat wants to know who should Penn State hire.
I mean, they probably should just take Terry Smith at this point. I mean, the players they're literally signing one player right now today. Like, that's all they've got. They're the worst recruiting class in the country. Like, I don't think they ever should have fired James Franklin, and now they're just swinging and missing. I mean, they thought they had Kalani Sitake. Crumble Cookies come in and says, "Not so fast, my friend." Yeah. They've got to get somebody at least can rally the fan base, and I think you just go with the guy you've got. Give it a year or two. Like, they've bungled this epically. Like, I don't know who's out there. Like, but it is a Big Ten job, so I mean, could you go get somebody from a G5 school? Maybe, but you've missed all the top ones.
Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about that at all, so I will lean on your expertise.
I mean, I think they were the first team to fire a coach, and they're still left at the altar waiting.
Yeah. I think the last thing that I remember about like Penn State, the most I know about them is that what are they, like the Lions?
The Nittany Lions, yeah.
Okay, so see, I knew something about them. How did it happen for you? Like, obviously, you've been a football fan for a long time. Like, your role at Dirty Mo, like when you came over, when did that start? Were you always like a NASCAR fan, or were you?
No.
Okay.
Like 5 years ago, I was like, I mean, I grew up hating the sport. All they do is turn left jokes.
Oh
like,
shit!
I'm from Ohio. Like, racing's not in my family. Like, there is a dirt track like 2 miles down the road from where I grew up, but I never went to the races there. And then when I was at ESPN, I started working with Marty Smith, and so that's how we started talking about it a little bit. So I started paying attention, and I've had a friend working the industry, so I kind of was tuning in. So just and then just hopped right in, and then literally went from like 0 to 100 working with Denny, and now working with Dale also.
Yeah, I didn't know that you worked with ESPN. Marty and McGee, dude, they'll get you bit.
I used to produce that show.
Yeah? Okay.
I produced the radio show.
Nice. So I know Ryan pretty well. Ryan is somebody that I've known for a while, and like he's just a historian of knowledge when it comes to minor league baseball and racing. So it's like that those are not bad guys to be around. I know he's received a little bit of criticism from Denny recently for his article. You being kind of teetering both sides of that, like how did you see like that whole thing? It's like you don't want to hurt either of them's feelings, obviously.
I think he did a good job playing it down the middle. I get it. It's one of those things where damned if you do, damned if you don't. And, all these reporters, I feel for them because they're trying to navigate this coverage, and you're just trying to report on it, give some of your opinion, but not try to look like you're a homer from one side or the other, even though, listen, everybody's got their opinions, and you're just trying to find a way to, hit it down the middle.
Yeah, and I know sometimes it's not always popular to do. Like it can kind of bland out content. Like usually, like people like contrast. They want to have they want to know like what you're really thinking. And I think that's kind of been a big theme of mine, of just like trying to get to a place where you can be a little bit more honest while also seeing it from both sides. And like
exactly,
having the ability to have perception is so important. Like because you do need to, like, I can see why NASCAR's doing certain things they're doing. I can see why Denny and 2311 and Michael are doing certain things that they're doing. You know, with you working, kind of going back to you coming in with Dirty Mo, like when did you take over production on Actions Detrimental?
They shot a pilot show before I got here, and then I took over.
Okay, so it was almost immediately?
Yeah, since day one, basically. The first the show that first was ever heard, I produced that.
Okay. Were you I've watched a few of the episodes lately. You know, I always try to keep tabs on everything that's going on at Dirty Mo. Did you weren't always like talking on that show?
No, initially I didn't have a mic. I don't know when it started in that first season. Then Denny and Jared were like, "We need to get you a mic," and so they brought a mic, and then they wanted a camera this year. And I was the one that was like, "I don't want the camera."
Yeah.
Because I'm also like, I'm live switching the camera shots and doing different things, research, and so like I don't want the camera on me. And then also like, listen, like they're the stars of the show. I just chime in when I feel like I can add something to it. But you know, Denny's obviously the true star, and then Jared is, I think, the MVP of the show, though. He makes my life so much easier.
Yeah, we love Jared, dude. Shout out to old Jared Allen, the only Jared Allen I knew.
He knows when to like poke him.
Yeah,
Jared knows when to like poke Denny and when to go at him, and that's what I love about him, is that they have that relationship, and he's with them, so he knows when he flies back or whatever, if Denny's in a good mood, bad mood, like, all right, you know, this is the week that let's start with a fun topic, let's get it going easier. All right, let's get right to it at the beginning. Like he kind of, you know, has a good gauge on the temperature.
Yeah, no, I mean, in that relationship, I mean, they've been doing work together for a long time now. So I mean, that's what makes a great show. That's what makes it work, is when you can kind of be honest and push those buttons. And I feel like a lot of that does come out with Denny. With you kind of like being close and working, like I feel like y'all's relationship really took off publicly whenever you brought him to an Ohio State game. And
it did.
That was when you've made him like an Ohio State fan now. You know, and what was it like kind of bonding with him over something that was so close to you your whole life? Like, how did that change the dynamic of y'all's relationship?
Well, the weird part is like, you know, he wanted to see what it was like, and he's got a good friend that's now my friend that's an Ohio State fan. So we went up there, but I was like, I'm just going to be me, and I have no idea how he's going to take what I am as a fan, because I know him well, but like, I'm just going to be me, and if he doesn't like how I am as a fan or whatever, things like, then, you know, hey, it is what it is. But, you know, after the Indiana game last year, I was like, so what'd you think? And he was like, loved it. And so it's just kind of started from there. And you know, I think he's a sports fan. He's a sports junkie. He loves football. And he had only been to like, I think, a small bowl game before, but never, you know, a college football game before, and then going to that. And so he kind of just got hooked. And, you know, we watched the Michigan game with each other last year. Didn't go well. And then the Tennessee game we win. And so then we watched the Rose Bowl. And then during the Rose Bowl, he's like, if y'all win, let's go to the Cotton Bowl. And so just second half, you know, it took off, and we're like, all right, let's do it. And it just kind of ran with it.
Just ran with it from there. Yeah, I love that, man.
It's fun to see him, like, because he bought into it too, which I think it was awesome to see. Like, for the Indiana game, he showed up with Ohio State gear on. Like, he went and bought the stuff. So, like, he embraced it and, you know, kind of jumped on the wagon.
Yeah, no, I think that's good too. Like, just to see the drivers, especially for NASCAR fans, or for people that are just kind of like watching the races week to week, you know, like to see these drivers and these guys, the more of the human side of them, that they have other interests outside of the racetrack. I think that's super important, and it kind of is like a gel or a bridge to like, oh, well, that guy likes this, so because he likes this, I like him now. And I feel like Denny's kind of been on that snowball this year to where he's really got a lot of fan base. Did you start the Denny Bro movement? Was that you that came out with that? Because I had never heard that until you.
Dale started. Dale or TJ on the download, I think, just started calling me a Denny Bro.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, you know, snowballed. And then I think it was the Michigan race when Denny did the OH, and then Dale's interviewing him, and then Denny mentioned the Denny Bro on the set of Prime, and that's when it kind of took off. And so now I'm like, listen, all the Denny Bros, like, come on out. Like,
yeah, you're like
king
of the Denny Bros, dude.
Yeah.
And
people, love to give me a hard time, and I'm like, listen, they're like, oh, you're biased. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm biased. Like, one, I work with him, but two, now he's a friend. Like, if you don't think I'm going to support him, like, that's just not how I roll. Like, I'm loyal to the people that are loyal to me.
Yeah, exactly. No, I respect the shit out of that. Like, that's a very important element that a lot of people don't always see. When you're looking at, working with him, you see a lot of him behind the scenes. You kind of develop this relationship with him. You know him a little bit, and kind of looking at it to where how passionate he's been publicly about like what's happening in this lawsuit. Like, is he that guy 24/7? Like, are we seeing more of like who Denny really is, like, publicly now a little bit more, or is there any other type of like personality things that we maybe don't know about him, where it seems like more and more people are starting to like come together around him, like, as a person, whereas so many people hated him for so long? Like, has he always been this guy, or is this something that is just kind of happening with age and having children? Like, what do you suspect?
I don't know, because I mean, honestly, this time last year is the first time that we were like really hanging out. So like, I don't know what Denny Hamlin 2 years ago was. I just know the guy that I've been around for the past year. Like, I was watching the game with him on Saturday, and it's a couple buddies, him and his son. His son was kind of our good luck charm, and so that's just what we were doing. But like, yeah, I don't really know. The funny thing is, I didn't know much about Denny Hamlin before I got here.
Right.
Like, I knew who he was, but I couldn't tell you. I knew he drove a FedEx car, but like, and Joe Gibbs, but like, outside of that, like, I didn't know anything about him. Like, I went into it with like a blank page with him.
Got it. So yeah, I mean, like, that's just you only know him for as long as you've known him, and like, now finding out that you weren't always kind of attached to NASCAR and stuff, it kind of gives you a little bit more of that relaxed approach because you didn't know him. So and really good friendships can form out of that. I know from the times that I've talked with Denny, he's a very competitive guy, and
he said it. He's the most competitive guy he's ever met. Now I called him out on that. I'm like, do you not work with MJ? He's like, I'm saying that I've been around when they were competing. I'm like, all right, I'll let you have that back a little bit. But yeah, I play pickleball with him. He doesn't like to lose. I mean, and if it's something that there's a winner in, he wants to win.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes the him and MJ combo so lethal, because, like, when you're an alpha, dude, like, you can be around other alphas and you might butt heads, but like, typically the best ones are always the ones that can be in the same room and move together. So,
well, you saw in court yesterday, they were talking about him wanting to spend more money to win and them having to reel him back in. And he's like, I'm a competitor. MJ and I want to win, and it's our CFO's job and other people's job to watch the money. And so like, him and MJ, they know one thing and one thing only, and it's win. And Denny's done it 60 times. Yeah,
the whole arguments that are coming out about how like he doesn't know how to spend money. It's like, when you want to win, you're not always thinking about that. You're just like, that's why we hire you people. Figure out how to make this work, because that's that competitive nature and that fire that comes out in people. I think it's great now to find out that you haven't always been a NASCAR fan, like, because I want to know what your thoughts are on this whole case and like how you kind of see it, like, with everything, because I think it's important to get outside opinions of people, because like, I've been a NASCAR fan since I was like 5 years old, dude. So I grew up going to tracks, and like, I have like a really long history of like attachment to like, the old era of NASCAR. Kind of like watched a lot growing up through the 2000s. Seeing it from the outside perspective now, working in the industry, like how do you see all of this, and what do you personally, what would you like to see come out of it?
I want to see 2311 in Front Row Motorsports racing next year. I think it's good for the sport. Like, if NASCAR loses MJ, like, that's a blow, and I think the sport is still a great sport, and there's lots of room to grow. And I just want to see it continue to go forward, is, my hope.
Yeah, that's what's important to a lot of people, which is why I feel like, me personally, like I would have loved to seen the settlement. I would have loved to seen them figure that out, because you don't want it to fall into the hands of outside parties to figure out where things are going to move.
You never know what a jury's going to do. Like, you can think you got the best hand in the world, but a jury might see it otherwise. And I would have loved to see it settle before all this, the text messages and stuff came out, because you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube on some of these things that have been said. And so it's like, you know, can the sport recover? Sure. The sport's bigger than, a text message here or there, but it doesn't help the sport.
Do you have an opinion after seeing a lot of those messages? Because I know some of those messages like aren't going to be used in court, but I mean, like the damage is, like you said, it's already done. How do you see NASCAR leadership now versus how you did before?
I don't think my opinion changed a whole lot. I think we all
I get where you're going.
Think the same. I'm not going to say who it, we all think what it is. And, I think the sport is still a good sport and can be ran, but, there's some things that got to be fixed.
Yeah. NASCAR is bigger. It's bigger than the people that are inside of it. I think that's what a big theme of mine has been. Like, you're a fan of Ohio State. Like, it doesn't really matter who's wearing that helmet. It doesn't matter, who's coaching that team. Like, you support that thing. And that's kind of the way I feel like I see NASCAR. I see NASCAR as the logo and the cars and the drivers. And, like, whoever's in those cars, who's ever at those teams, like, I'm here for the sport to thrive. And whoever's running it or whatever, I'm not really focused too much on that as much as I am just the entity itself. So
yeah, but they got to be careful, because there's some fans like you, but there's some that, when Jimmy Johnson retired, they stepped away. When Dale Jr. retired, they stepped away. And so it's like, you got to keep these fans coming back for the race teams and the sport, and not just to the driver.
Yeah, and I mean that's a huge one, because like everybody in the world is always like, NASCAR died the day Dale died, and it's like not necessarily, but that's also too like people that get attached like to players, like in other ball sports. Like I was a huge Mark McGwire fan growing up as a kid, so like obviously I like the Cardinals. And then that kind of stuck to where it's kind of like, okay, well, I kind of support the Cardinals because I supported Mark. And so I do feel like there's a line, but the one thing I think I've learned more than anything over the last few months is just how differently a lot of people see it. And and it's important to realize how many different perceptions of the sport are out there. One thing that I do want to ask, so like obviously after the championship, it was tough, I feel like, for a lot of people. What was it like kind of being in the rooms? Like, were you having to like push him to do an episode, or did you just kind of step back and wait till he said something?
Well, so Denny talked about it on the podcast. So I'll get to your other question about when we did it, but after the race, it was like, you're just like shock and awe. And so everyone, there was a massive group of friends and family that were there. We all finally get back to the bus, and Denny comes back on the golf cart. He's still in the fire suit, so he goes straight onto his bus, and we're outside, and he's the one that comes out dressed and brought everybody in, and he kind of had the pick-me-up speech of like saying like, I'm good, like I know who I am, I know what I've done and accomplished, I know I'm worthy of being a champion, but I wanted it for you guys. And it was emotional. I mean, you see Jordan and the girls there, his mom's there, and so like, it was tough afterwards. It was because, I'm a fan of Ohio State. When they lose, I hate it. But the Ohio State win is more of like, I want it for me, where like I wanted it for Denny. I wanted it for Jordan, the girls, Mary Lou, his dad, these people that have, I was hanging out all weekend with one of his lifelong friends that grew up with him in Chesterfield. Like, I wanted it for them.
Yeah.
And so that was the different part. And so afterwards, on Sunday night, I told him, I said, listen, I'm going to text you on Monday. We don't have to do the podcast. And so I texted him on Monday, and he's like, no. And so I said, fine. I go, we're not even thinking about the podcast until you get back. And then we'll circle back. And it was his call when we were going to do it, because, this wasn't just him losing the championship with like 30 to go and him knowing it and seeing it. This happened with 60 seconds to go, 2 laps to go. And so it was his call. And, we're always going to support our driver, and, it's his show. And so it's when he wants to do it. And he was finally ready to do it. But it was still raw. Like, you could tell that, he still wasn't over it, and nor should he be.
Right. No, I completely get that. I think it's just I know a lot of people were like waiting, they were wondering, and
oh yeah,
I had the feeling myself where it was just like you said, it's like it was less about me, it was more about him. Like it's just the story, everything that had built up this season, it was huge. So
yeah, it would have been. I mean, you think about the last 5 weeks in the season, it was always something with Denny on the track. Like he was carrying this, and it was just like this perfect crescendo. Like I mean, Kyle Larson wanted him to basically, if he couldn't win, to win it. You had Byron apologizing. Like you always talk about like what's the good storyline for the sport. Like Denny winning was what was best for the sport. It's like when the Cubs won in 2016. Like that's what the sport needed, and it didn't get it, unfortunately, and it may never get it, but that's why you play the games, unfortunately.
I think I think it was a big reason, especially seeing the Byron and how Larson reacted was like a big reason for people to even grab the pitchforks even more about the whole playoff situation. And
yeah, but I don't the playoff situation with him though, I don't think is necessarily the same. Now the format with the one, yes, but like at least with Larson, now the one thing my gripe is that stage points don't matter in the championship race because he got more points than Larson.
Yeah, no, I completely get it. Look, I know you've got some things you've got to get going and taken care of today. It's been great chatting with you a little bit, just kind of learn a little bit more about the dynamic and everything. Where can everybody watch and follow you at if they don't already?
I think I'm at Travis Rockhold on Twitter. You'll probably hate me half the time. Yeah, I'm tweeting about Ohio State usually. I've been monitoring recruiting today, but yeah, at Travis Rockhold on Twitter. I think. Let's see, I don't even know my handles. Going to Instagram. It's at T Rockhold on Instagram.
At T Rock. Well, there you go. Well, Travis, thanks so much for being on today, brother. Look forward to the rest of the projects coming out, and we will talk to you later on.
All right, see you later, man.
All right, everybody. That was Travis Rockhold from Dirty Mo Media. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. We got to talk with him a little bit today about everything that he's got going on, his relationship with Denny, and kind of how things were after the championship. Great. Always interesting to find out, a little bit more about the people that you work with. Had no clue that he was not a NASCAR fan before coming in. So it's always great to find out. Always cool to know. Catching up here in the chat, Jeremy Long, when is RC taking the stand? Hopefully he will be taking the stand later today, hopefully right now. That would be even better if he took the stand right now. That's what I would like. That way, the sooner he does, the sooner I can have an update on what's going on. And, of course, to continue the Dirty Mo plugs for today, make sure that you tune into the Teardown tonight on YouTube, on Dirty Mo Media's YouTube channel. Jordan Bianchi, Jeff Gluck will be breaking down everything from today. I think today is going to be the big day. I think today is going to be a very big deciding day on what happens in this trial moving forward about whether we reach a settlement or not. Because I think Richard Childress may have some words that could be huge on the team side. So the fact that they're calling him up, Kessler's going to get to ask some questions, I think is a big thing. Also, Jose Acosta, damn, you look like Cal Naughton Jr. I don't know if you were talking about me or Travis. Probably me. I have a mustache. You should see my dad, dude. That's all I'm going to say. You should see my dad. You want to talk about people that look like John C. Reilly? You should see my dad, dude. We call him Cal Naughton, actually, my father. So call me, I guess technically I am Cal Naughton Jr. if he is Cal Naughton. Or Junior. Maybe, one or the other. Let's go catch up. I'm going to go see if there's any new post out, and there is new post out. Hey, Brad Gross, dude. Thanks for the sub. Great job from Dale. You got it right there. There he was. Every time you subscribe to this channel, Dale Earnhardt will pop up right here, and he'll tell you good job. Is that Mike Honcho? Yeah. Shout out Mike Honcho, dude. I wonder if they have a Mike Honcho Pornhub account somewhere. We should find it. That would make a great story. 4 minutes ago, Jeff Gluck said, just filed my story on the morning testimony to The Athletic. Since I have to give up my phone again to go back in. All right, here we go. Motorsport Report. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Zach from Alabama.
Zach, thank you so much for calling back, my man. I'm sorry we weren't able to get to you a bit ago, but I'm glad you called back in. We're always excited to find out what's going on in the world of Zach from Alabama. What's on your mind today?
Somewhat the NASCAR lawsuit and for the final race of Formula One.
Yeah, we'll talk a little F1, dude. I actually heard that there is something to watch in F1. I heard that there's a points race that's happening at Abu Dhabi. Is that correct?
Yes. If Max Verstappen wins at Abu Dhabi, he will be the champion.
Incredible. So he has a shot to win. That'll be his 5th title in F1.
Yep. And
wow.
We haven't have a champion battle like this since 2021.
It's been a minute. These are the things that actually, like, it's when these kind of things happen where I'll kind of like turn and be like, I might watch an F1 race today. There's some other F1 news that came out because, like, I'm going to probably be watching a little bit more in 2026 just because of Cadillac. But, anytime you have these battles like this, there's awesome. And which is why I would love to see NASCAR do it because, like, it's just like it's a once every now and then thing that happens and everybody can kind of come around it. So I don't even know if I've ever asked you who you're a fan of in Formula One, because I know that, like, I've kind of like, I'll just sideways be like McLaren. Yeah. Like, you're cool. Like, because McLaren's an INDYCAR, I'm a big Pato guy. I like Pato, I like the boys over there. So who are you a fan of in F1?
I'm more of a fan with the team. Like when I got into Formula One and this season, I've been a Ferrari fan. But next year, I'm gonna switch over to Cadillac.
Yeah, I always liked old Charizard Charles, dude. He's been real pissed off at Ferrari. He's not happy with their cars. That's what I've seen. He's not too happy. But it's also cool to know that you've been kind of keeping tabs on the NASCAR lawsuit. I know you're a little bit more of our resident Formula One caller. What have been your thoughts on this whole case?
I've been a fan of NASCAR, INDYCAR, and Formula One. But when I looked at the NASCAR lawsuit, I think NASCAR shot themselves in the foot, and they're going to lose. And if they lose, I have a feeling they're going to take it to the Supreme Court because they're a big corporation.
Yeah, I've seen the reports on that. Bob Hockers has put out some stuff where NASCAR has kind of already said that if they lose this, that they're going to go to a court of appeals, which could drag this thing out for another 2 years. Judge Bell has came out and said that he's doing everything in his power to avoid an appeal. So it all comes down to where if the teams win, it all depends on what Judge Bell orders. So with him coming out and saying he's doing everything that he can to avoid appeal, I would try to think that he would try to be as fair and balanced on both ends of it, to make it to where they wouldn't have to do that. And that's your hope, right? Like, the only hope we have if NASCAR loses this is that Judge Bell kind of has a really good understanding of this and really tries to cut right down the middle to make it fair, because he's been urging them to settle. So I don't know. NASCAR fans may, if the teams lose, I know that there's kind of like a chance of lose. Will NASCAR fans hate Judge Bell? That's that's things we have to worry about now. Will NASCAR fans hate juries? There's really no telling. But yeah, I mean, so obviously you want to see. Do you have a side in this? Like, who do you see? Do you want NASCAR to win? Do you want 23XI to win? Like, what do you want to gain out of this as a NASCAR fan, as a young NASCAR fan in the world?
I want Denny Hamlin and 23XI to win because of NASCAR and their history always never like a rebellion in their organization.
Okay.
And with Denny Hamlin, and I agree with Denny Hamlin, NASCAR is a monopoly. Like, they're the entertainers, but they have to pay to get in to be the entertainer.
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of taking the side of Denny and MJ too. It's just making sure that everybody is aware of the pros and the cons of everything. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I want to see NASCAR win. You know, I want what's best for the teams. I want what's best to keep Michael Jordan in the sport. I think that's big. I think that that's important. And I want to see. I just want to see things functional, man. That's a big thing for me. So yeah. I hear that. Well, I'm excited to check out F1 this weekend. I'll probably be watching. What time does the race start this weekend, Zach?
Oh, I think on the East Coast, I think it will start at 8 in the morning.
8 a.m.? Okay.
Yeah, at my time, it will be 7 a.m.
Got it. Okay.
So it's going to be an early morning race for us, but
we'll have pre-race coverage as soon as we roll out of bed at like 6 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right, dude. Well, I'm always glad to hear from you, brother. Glad to get your thoughts on this stuff today. Anything else you got on your mind before we let you go?
No, not really.
All right, brother. Well, good to hear from you as always, Zach, and thanks for calling in. We appreciate it.
All right.
And that was Zach from Alabama, resident F1 caller. He always calls us to keep us updated on what's happening in the world of F1 from his perspective. Cool Breeze in the chat. We need the teams to win in order to start righting the ship, but NASCAR as an entity needs to remain intact. Agreed. Connor says, I can do the early morning race, just not 3 or 4 a.m. I will say this. There's one F1 race that I do try to watch. Haven't got to watch it in a couple of years. I'm a big fan of Suzuka Circuit in Japan, especially back. You remember when NASCAR ran there back in the late 90s? If you weren't around for that, go look it up on YouTube. Rusty Wallace. So when F1 goes there, it's always cool. That's usually around like midnight. You get to watch that one. Zach Masters says, got full Daytona 500 odds slate on Bet365. Big update there. So we've got Indy 500 odds out, and now we've got Daytona 500 odds out. Good to see that odds are out. Good to see that teams are releasing paint schemes for their cars. Good to see that people are trying to go ahead and start teasing stuff that's happening in Daytona that gives a lot of people, you know, there's been a lot of conversation about, like, will we even get a 2026 season? And I think a lot of it's going to come down to how things play out over the next week or so, or the next 2 weeks maybe, however long this thing drags on. But it is good to see things are proactive. Like, we're kind of moving forward in a way. Zach says Indy Championship odds are out now too, but no NASCAR Championship. Curious to see if they settle after RC testifies, says Amy. And Amy, I'm going to go ahead and let you know right now, that's exactly what I'm thinking too. Because I feel like there's going to come a moment where there's going to be some big testimony. There's going to be some big thing that happens in the courthouse where NASCAR is going to have to, like, sit back and really look at this. Because right now, if we're being honest, it does appear that things are tilting in team favor. And with that kind of being the case, it's like all it's going to take is one giant blow. NASCAR is going to have to, you know, maybe come off the ego horse a little bit. Maybe they got Jim France in there today too. Jim France is going to be taking the stand today. I saw there was a video Bob Pockrish dropped where he was walking in the court this morning. And speaking of Bob, there was a post by Bob as well. And it's the 19 minutes ago. A big topic was this February 2024 letter from Team Negotiating Committee to NASCAR. Let's read it. Let's go over to Browser View. We're going to take a gander. For those of you that used to watch Race Cards Live, y'all know all about taking a gander. So let's hop over here and let's go look at whatever this is that he dropped. So also a big topic was this February 2024 letter from Team Negotiating Committee to NASCAR. So let's read it. All right, so February via email, NASCAR, Steve O'Donnell, Ben Kennedy, Scott Prime, Amanda Oliver, Dan Picheri, maybe, charter agreement negotiations. NASCAR team, as we shared in our meetings in January, the teams are extremely frustrated with the lack of substantive progress towards a charter renewal despite almost 2 years of meetings and dialogue, and disappointed with the document provided by NASCAR in December. Based on feedback we've received from all teams, the proposed draft of the charter renewal was a non-starter and didn't represent the spirit, intent, or content of the discussions held for the past 2 years. Our intent remains to usher in a new paradigm that creates a more collaborative, stable, and prosperous era for our sport and its stakeholders. We wanted to share the team's position on the 4 key pillars that would be required in any charter renewal scenario. If NASCAR is willing to accept each of these, it would go a long way toward ushering in the new era of collaboration, stability, and prosperity that we believe both NASCAR and the teams desire, and the TNC would recommend to each current charter team they move forward with the charter renewal. Revenue to teams. 45% of the gross revenue from the recent media deals without reduction. Teams require a fair media revenue split, particularly based on the deterioration of team economics. Let's go to B. Length of charters. Evergreen with unlimited 7-year automatic extensions in discretion of teams. As we have expressed repeatedly, we believe evergreen charters with the same terms and conditions for each charter holder are essential and provide significant benefits to both NASCAR and the teams. Let's go over here to this other document. I'll get it pulled up right there. Governance. Although the teams recognize the need for NASCAR to be able to run and operate the sport, the teams expect to have a seat at the table for important decisions and at least the same level of high-level endorsement rights as embodied in the current system. D. New business opportunities. NASCAR will have the rights to market team IP on a group basis of 4 or more teams. Any revenue generated with the use of team IP in such group license will be shared 2/3 of the net revenue to NASCAR and 1/3 of net revenue to the teams. And any new stream of revenue generated by NASCAR, regardless of whether team IP is used, will be shared 2/3 of the net revenue to NASCAR and 1/3 of the net revenue to teams. So that's just kind of some of the things they were proposing, and then NASCAR's internal reaction to it. So this is the internal reaction to this thing, and I'm trying to see if I can get it pulled up to where you guys can read it just as well, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to. So this was an email, let's see, to Steve Phelps. Hi, everyone. We have just received a letter back from the teams. We are working on setting up time Monday a.m. to get this group together to review and discuss. Overall, it is quite disappointing. Further reaching than what they had asked for before, with no mention of any rights that would revert to us or any suggestions on language in other areas of the agreement where they said they would provide feedback. Also, we believe it further heightens the pressure to get our sanctions locked up before Daytona. Some bullet points. Media revenue, they are at 45% with nothing coming off the top. Driver ambassador term, they are back to evergreen with economics to be negotiated every 7 years. Our term of media rights agreement. Governance, we think are generally okay. We think we are generally okay here. New revenue. In addition to asking for 33% of net revenue for any opportunity using joint NASCAR team IP, they have clarified that they want 33% of all new NASCAR net revenue, regardless of whether team IP is used. They did say they would grandfather in any existing revenue stream, not that it makes it any better. They are having an all-teams meeting on Saturday in Daytona where they hope they can tell the teams that we have agreed to these 4 concepts. They close in the event. NASCAR is not in agreement on the basic principles of a new paradigm. The teams will be forced to recommit our energy towards exploring all of our options. Again, we will set up a time to discuss on Monday a.m., but we need to be ready for some potential disturbances in the coming weeks, months, and double down on our contingency planning. They don't have a date on when this was done, but I can only imagine it was a couple years ago. This was from Scott. And then this was from Steve Phelps. So this is what Steve Phelps replied to this. Scott, thanks for pulling this together. I think you've accurately reflected our options. Let's find time Monday afternoon to discuss. I land around 2 p.m. They are playing with fire. What they will see is very consistent charter extension with greater revenue, a cap, and deliverables from the teams to grow the sport, consistent with 18 months of negotiating. They haven't moved off their position in 18 months, no negotiation at all. You don't really have to say they are playing with fire. Like, it's just like little words like that from Steve Phelps just really kind of shows you like I'm Steve. That's just the way I just see it. I don't know. I'm Steve. Lots of options, but all of them have the same theme. Give them the charters, pick a date, and they can sign or they can lose their charters. It's that simple. What an ass. Smaller group. All right, so this was from Scott Prime. Smaller group here. We also need to think about how we want to respond, knowing we're not going to deliver the news they want by Saturday. Not sure how hard the hole we want to go, but feels like they need to understand that we are exploring all options as well. Option 1, declare that we are going down to 32 charters to address their revenue concerns. Same money split, 32 ways versus 36. Per team in year 1 would go from 12 to 13.5. I actually think 32 is a healthier number. Money spread too thin, but no, there are competition implications. First come, first served. Option 2, update the charter draft to our liking, consistent with where we are with the teams. Give them a deadline to sign. Otherwise, we will be offering this deal to anyone else who might be interested in signing on those terms. Per Probst, getting new teams spun up will take time, so can run the clock out till quarter 3, quarter 4. If we really think we're going down that route, could choose to grant or sell. Option 3, combination of 1 and 2, 32, and start granting. Option 4, back to fully open, but this does not open us up to week uncertainty of who is going to show up. If we rely on these 15 owners to field open cars, easy for them to just pick a race to not show up for and ruin things. Option 5, the gold codes. Here we go for all y'all know about the gold codes. Go vertical. Challenge is we can't get that stood up for 2025, and not sure what drivers we could secure. Would probably require taking on more debt to fund the startup cost. A modified version would be to give a Godfather offer to a handful of teams, Trackhouse, Spire, few others, to invest in their teams and have had them build cars for everyone. JV to help the startup of our vertical model. JV. Option 6, any thoughts? So yeah, that's an interesting read right there. That's kind of what their whole strategy was. Going into this, and let's just double check to see if there's anything new since we were reading all of that. It doesn't look like there's any new stuff from Jeff or from Bob. So I didn't get to finish reading this before the caller. My editor, Zach Pierce, will let you know when it's posted if you want to check his page. So he's obviously writing something up. He's already sent it in. So, yeah, that's kind of what we know as of right now. And we still are awaiting the Richard Childress testimony, which will be happening at some point today. CHAP says, STL resident and pissed I didn't get Saturday tickets. Hard as hell to find right now for Gateway Dirt Nationals. Yeah, that's something we can talk about. So we've basically talked about the NASCAR lawsuit this entire episode. And I appreciate everybody that's been here kind of keeping us informed. If you guys see something that I've missed, get in the chat, call. I'm always down to talk about it. I would love to hear about it. Amy says, no way they let Roger Penske take the stand. At this point, it's like we had JB call in. You know, we're trying to figure out what is this team NASCAR has. And I think that I don't know if we would see Trackhouse be a part of that. Trackhouse is another team I didn't think about off the top of my dome. Spire was one of them. Legacy was one of them, which I don't really know because of how Richard's been talking lately. And then what else do we have? Trackhouse now is another one of those teams that could come up. Penske and Hendrick could easily operate at losses because they have money on other businesses where they can profit. So, you know, you gotta kind of understand the business side of things. You know, Hendrick and Penske could easily be claiming losses on these race teams because of their money coming in from other sources. You know, Roger Penske owns a trucking company. Rick Hendrick owns car dealerships. Yeah, we didn't think about Trackhouse either, says Connor in the chat. That was one of them. Now, I know that Justin Marks has come out and said that I think he had some comments on playoffs maybe, but I don't really know if that matters too much in this whole legal debacle. John Newby and Adam Stern, both good follows for the trial as well. Absolutely. So I have my notifications on for Stern. I usually keep those on just because he reports on a lot of different motorsport topics. So I do get a lot of stuff from him, kind of like, all over. Bob's been great. Obviously, Bob is the OG. Bob, shout out to Bobby P, dude. Bobby P covering IndyCar and NASCAR now, so it's always good to see him at IndyCar races. It's been really cool. So yeah, I'm keeping up with it like that. And then of course, like Toby Christie, there's a lot of people that are out there. I'm really excited to see how today goes. Honestly, I could be out there. I may go check it out one day. Court is open to the public. So if you're in the Charlotte area and you just want to like roll up there and see Denny and MJ walk in the courtroom, you can. Court is open to the public. There was a guy that tweeted me the other day or posted on Instagram, and he was asking me about that. He was like, "Kid, do you have to have media?" Like, no, dude. Like, this is America, bro. You just roll up. And they want to keep them doors open. They don't want to close them off. They don't want no chance of appeal. Judge Bell's already made it very clear. So the doors are wide open for anybody that's in the Charlotte area that wants to just go to the courthouse, be there, try to maybe, I don't know if you're going to have a place to sit, but I can only imagine like there's some people that have been like posting stuff that we kind of already know. And they could very well just be sitting outside of the courthouse by the door listening and doing stuff. So there's all kinds of ways you can go. Like if you're in the area and you want to go check it out. Ron in the chat says Penske, Childress, Hendrick, all close in age to Biden. What's that mean? I think I see where you're going with that. I don't know though. But yeah, it's really cool that like anybody can go there. Like that's one cool thing about our court system. One cool thing about that with this whole deal. What do you do in the off season? I sat in the same room as Denny and Michael Jordan. LOL. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean it's surreal when you see MJ in person, dude. It's like I don't even know. I was at Nashville and I remember I was Alvin Kamara was there. Me and Alvin had gotten tight. Because when he came in to start doing some work for NASCAR, I just thought it was so badass that they like NASCAR was trying to do stuff like that. So I remember like just talking with Alvin, and then like MJ like walks up, and I'm just like, I'm like 5 years old again, like looking up at like a grown up dude, just like oh wow, like it's like I had posters of you on my wall. Kevin McAllister had a pop up of you in Home Alone. I was thinking about shit like that, dude. That's where my brain went when I saw MJ. I was like, and when I was born, you won your first championship with the Chicago Bulls. Like, it's such a weird moment. Like, I see Denny all the time. Like, what's up? You see Denny at the race. He's like, what's up, Denny? How you doing? You see MJ. And, whoa, dude. Dude, holy shit, dude. Like, MJ could light up a cigar on pit road and nobody would say shit. It's like that Dave Chappelle power, dude, where Chappelle just being like, I don't know if how many of you are comedy fans. Dave Chappelle just be sitting smoking a cigarette in a room with clearly says no smoking. Like there's a level to that. MJ's got that shit, man. It's cool to see. Checking notifications again one more time before we move on to some other news topics, just to see. And nothing new. So obviously the lunch break must be over now. They must be back in the court. Again, all these reporters and journalists, they're having to put their phones in a locker. They can't even have their phone if you're in the courtroom, which is understandable. So a lot of these people are sitting in there with the old legal pad, taking all these notes down. So make sure to thank your journalist today when you're out there. Let's kind of go look at some more of the news that's happening around the motorsports world that's a little bit away from the lawsuit. We're going to talk a little bit about INDYCAR too. Obviously, we can start this with some quick notes. F1, Cadillac announced that they are going to reveal their car in a Super Bowl ad at the Super Bowl. Just when you think INDYCAR finally got to that place where they're like, haha, we have the strangle grip on Super Bowl advertisement. Here comes F1 and Cadillac to unveil their car. I can shit on F1 all day long, but I'm going to be honest with you. I put a post up the other day where I was talking about Formula One and like INDYCAR. and on last week's show, I talked a little bit about this, about how F1 kind of sees IndyCar and how fans, not necessarily maybe F1 or drivers, I don't want to speak for everybody, but mainly fans that are coming into it, like the way they look at IndyCar. Like, I hate that, you know, because I love IndyCar. I think it's badass. And now after seeing how much money these motherfuckers are making, and you find out Denny's only making 14, you can only imagine how much the IndyCar drivers are making. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, are they even making anything? So, you know, they got to get sponsorship to bring to these cars. So, you know, I think that, you know, it is what it is. I think that having Cadillac in F1 is going to be really cool. It's kind of like the closest thing I guess you can have to like racing Olympics with F1, because they go all over the world. So like it's cool to have like a team that you can kind of call an American team in that arena, which doesn't necessarily make the racing any less boring in my opinion. But you know, there's a little bit of attraction to that. You know, I used to always want to get the Escalade with the dubs, you know. I wanted to roll on 24s and 22s in my Escalade when I was a kid. I had shoes that had spinners on them. They were Day-Days. You could buy them in East Bay. I don't know how many of y'all remember East Bay Magazine if you were a sports player. But I will say that it's definitely getting to a point now with Cadillac coming in. They're going to make that announcement. You know, I don't know. Like, it just, you know, it's weird. There's really no... I just don't know what to do anymore. I don't know really what to say about it anymore. It kind of is what it is. It's F1's on their run right now, and I think that all you can really do is hope for the rising tide raising all ships. You know, I just want people to put a little more respect on it. You know what I'm saying? There's only one series. Y'all know me, I'm a NASCAR fan. But this is what I will say. There's only one racing series where a driver can showcase their ability on road courses, street courses, and ovals. And it's called INDYCAR. And in my opinion, in my humble opinion, if you want to find out who the best driver is, I think that's a great place to find out. And that's all I'm really going to say about it. Amy says, got my Grant Hills from East Bay. There we go. I know what you're talking about, Amy. I'm picking up what you're putting down, Amy. Zach says, I watched my yearly F1 race to get my racing fix, Vegas, and I fell asleep lap 15. Yeah, it happens. It happens. Like, I'm definitely going to check out Abu Dhabi. I'm not going to lie. Like, I anytime you get like a close points battle like this in F1, like, I feel like that's the entertainment, right? It's like, okay, like that's something that like I can withstand. It doesn't guarantee I'm going to stay awake past lap 15 like Zach here in the chat. But you know, it is cool to know that like just when you think that like, you know, McLaren's got the clear championship on the line now, you know, Max Verstappen, all he's got to do is win this race and he wins the championship. So that's a cool thing to kind of watch. It was like I watched the Abu Dhabi race in 2021 where it was Hamilton and Verstappen because I wanted to see Hamilton get 8. I just want to see a driver get 8 championships. We have never had a driver get 8 championships in NASCAR or in INDYCAR or in F1. There's been 8 championships in like NHRA and stuff like that. Like I get that. Like I've heard that argument before. But when it comes to the 3 major players, I feel like in racing, for me at least, the 3 major players have always been NASCAR, INDYCAR, F1. Those have kind of been like the major dominating players of racing. So to not have an 8-time champion, I think that's something that everyone can kind of get around to see. Like, obviously, we won't get that this year. Hamilton and Ferrari are bleh. Old Charles Leclerc, he's been very vocal about how he feels about Ferrari. Cusco says MotoGP. I've never really watched a lot of MotoGP. I feel like now that Trackhouse Racing is involved, like I may pay a little more attention to it. Cusco's in the chat. Can you tell me, has there ever been an 8-time champion in MotoGP? Maybe that's what you are saying by saying this. I'm just not sure. Easy Chase, the WEC and WRC fans may get a hold of this. Like, it's just but see, like that's the beauty of this program is because you can easily tell I've never spent a lot of time watching WEC or WRC. I didn't really know what WEC was until a few years ago when I went to David Land's house, and he has this flag in his room, or this poster in his room of WEC, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? He's like, you don't know the World Endurance Championship? I was like, no, dude. I grew up in America. I watched NASCAR. Freaking like, so my knowledge has definitely extended on racing and stuff like that. And obviously, like this year, a lot of you guys know that like I'm watching dirt racing now, which is something that was always around me growing up, but I just never like saw the appeal until I saw those fucking sprint cars, dude. Holy shit. And even the late models, bro. Those motherfuckers were getting it, dude. Valentino Rossi, 9 championships, says Cusco. So see, there's a 9-time champion in MotoGP. MotoGP, the most that I knew about MotoGP until like now was like that was the game that my kid loved to play at Chuck E. Cheese. So we would play MotoGP at Chuck E. Cheese. You know, I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to be real with everybody. But the Trackhouse announcement definitely caught my attention. And I was like, okay, Justin Marks and the boys are going over there to MotoGP. That's something I want to check out and watch, because when you watch, we watched one the other day, I think, and like my son was just like, holy shit, when they get down there, like with how close their knees are to the ground at those speeds, like that shit is wild, dude. So you got to put some respect on it for sure. And I think another thing to the point about WEC racing is like, it's like we have IMSA here. So it's like I've been to a Rolex 24. I thought that was pretty cool. It's just like, I guess like there's just certain things that don't appeal to me as much as like, and a lot of it can be tied to nostalgia. A lot of it can be tied to just like what you grow up with. But it doesn't stop me from like trying, you know what I mean? Like I've tried to watch Formula One. I tried, to do all these things, and I just kind of made my assumptions based off of what I personally saw and like what I personally thought. Cusco says, I'm a German NASCAR fan. They have a lot of NASCAR series around the world too, which is, they have like, the Canadian series, they have like a German series, they have like the Mexico series. So like NASCAR has like their own little like versions. I don't know how big and prominent they are. Zach says, I know this may not be your place to comment on, but is there any chance Connor will go to Dale Coyne Racing? I fucking hope so. That is the only seat that is available right now in INDYCAR. Juncos Hollander Racing officially announced that Ray Robb will be returning in 2026. And, we've talked a lot on Speed Street, and I think a lot of you that listen to Speed Street that are over here watching Motorsport Report now, you kind of know how, like, Connor does things and how he talks. He's very honest. He's very open, and I love that about him. And he kind of really does a great job of explaining the ins and outs of IndyCar racing and how a lot of these things work. So he talks a lot about how it's all about kind of money that you bring to the table. We got a caller coming in. Motorsport Report, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Chase, it's Wyatt from Front Stretch. What's up, man?
Wyatt from Front Stretch. I was wondering if you were going to call, man. We were just talking a little bit about IndyCar. We were talking a little bit about Dale Coyne Racing and if Connor's going to get a seat there or not. And I was getting ready to say, I don't know, but I hope so.
Yeah, I saw what as soon as the Stingray got officially announced, which was kind of funny because we all were already of the opinion that, okay, he's already got a multi-year deal. He's surely already with Juncos.
Right.
Once they officially confirmed it, your boy tweeted out, it's like beat him on 22 of 27 or whatever the stat was.
He put the stats out there. He had to put the stats out, and I love that. I love that he did. I quote tweeted it. I was like, stats don't lie. They don't. Like, I mean, he did a lot for that program, dude.
Yeah, I like it too. I mean, he got the first podium for him, I believe, in their history at Milwaukee, and when he came in and stepped in on a part-time basis to close 23 out, if I'm not mistaken. And then, I mean, the Indy 500 run too was just absolutely legendary. If his tires held up, we could have been talking about Juncos Hollander winning that with Connor, of course, too. Yeah. But it's been weird because we all thought also Dale Coyne was going to announce Grosjean was going to go to that second seat. And we're sitting in December, and what do you know, that seat's still not filled. I think it's still pretty open, at least personally from my end. I don't know. I don't have any sources or anything. This is my thoughts on the matter. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel Connor definitely deserves a look at a lot of other teams too in this regard. I really thought if my thought too was if it wasn't for the chemistry between him and Santino Ferrucci, that AJ Foyt would have been a good spot for him to race with. But obviously Kyle Collette getting there too is going to be interesting to watch there as well, with him coming in as a rookie, and Brazil getting another driver in Formula One, or in IndyCar rather, for the first time since Elio was driving full time.
Yeah, I think I just have to comment and say that I think that in terms of a great story, Connor and AJ Foyt with Santino would have fed families.
Oh yes.
It would have, man. Like, I know they don't really like each other. Like, they respect each other on track. I get it. Like, you know, they've kind of came out. Dale Jr. had Santino on. I've had Santino on, you know, as an interview earlier in the year. Probably going to look to chat with Santino a little bit more at some point over the next couple of weeks. But that would have been it's you have to be honest. Like, that would have been hilarious. I think a lot of IndyCar fans would have ate that up. But the Dale Coyne thing, man. So you're covering IndyCar for Front Stretch. So I mean, you're kind of like keeping your ears open and keeping tabs on everything that's happening. What the fuck, dude? Like, we were supposed to know about Dale Coyne's full lineup before October 31st. Then it was Thanksgiving. Now here we are. It's December the 3rd. And I had Arnie at freaking IndyCar tell me, like, oh, you're new here, you know, like this is normal. This is like a normal thing. Like, come on, it's Dale Coyne. Well, I didn't know that was normal. I'm like, dude, like, if you say you're gonna do something, do it. Like, say it. Like, at least let us know. Like, we know Hogger is going to, I love saying it like that. Hogger. Dennis Hogger.
Sounds like a dip.
It does,
it
dude.
Sounds like a dip brand. Hogger.
It does, bro. Like, get that boy a lip quick. But yeah, dude, I'll throw him a Zen, bro. I'm gonna pop one right now. I'm gonna pop a Zen for Hogger. I'm gonna pop a Hog for Hogger. Just pop one in right there.
Oh, you got to do, if he takes the lead or does something cool, you got to pop a Hog for Hogger.
You gotta pop a Hog for Hogger, dude. Yeah, but I mean, like, dude, like, Connor at DCR right now makes sense. It really does. Like, we know that Connor has, you know, a lot of sponsors. Connor has sponsors. Connor has people on his team. Connor's got a great track record on ovals. I love that Michael Cannon is at DCR. And, I mean, having, like, Mike Cannon and Connor would be really fucking cool. You know, and I just, as a friend of Connor, like, dude, I want to see my dog get back in the chair, dude. I want to see him out there ripping, bro. He's getting closer and closer to that Indy 500 win. And I want that so bad for him, because I know how bad he wants it, man. And like when you and so it's a weird spot. Like when you have a real friendship there, and it's not just you looking at it from the outside, like as a fan thing. It's like I want to see my boys succeed. I want to see my boys win. You know, I mean, I consider you a friend of mine. I want to see whatever you do in your life. Like, I want you to be successful, because if you're passionate about something and you care about something, like, and you're putting a lot of energy and a lot of time into it, you want the best for your people, man. So, like, yeah, I'm definitely have a vested interest, and I'm definitely emotional about it, and I try to be as I try to be as transparent as I can, but also, like, you know, not get too crazy about it all. But, you know, he deserves another run. And that's kind of like what I'll say about it. It's as far as I can really go into it. Like, I mean, I love the sport of IndyCar. Whatever team decisions make is what they make. I want to see IndyCar succeed as well. And I feel like they really will now with this Fox deal. I feel like it could be the ramp up that the series needs in America to get more American eyes on open wheel racing. And, you know, with Cadillac kind of coming in now, doing this thing with F1, like, there is a little bit of, like, you know, in my mind, not so much, like, I would be a liar to say that it's not slightly worrisome, but it's like, I feel like IndyCar is in such a good position right now as a whole to really take on a huge chunk of the American racing world, especially with this NASCAR deal that's going on. There's so many fans that may never return to NASCAR no matter what happens. So it's like giving them a product to be able to watch and root for, I think, is super important. And I want to see just IndyCar thrive and succeed. But first things first, we got to know who's in the field, you know. I know the latest big news we've got is Mick Schumacher's coming over, which I thought it's incredible.
That's huge.
You
Absolutely.
know, I love that for him. I love that for RLL, dude. I've become a really big Graham Rahal guy, dude. Like, he's been so vocal.
He's a great guy.
He's
truly a great guy to talk to as well. Make no mistake, he's a good personality in the garage.
No, he really is, man. And he's like after seeing his post that he did where he was kind of like, wasn't maybe necessarily shitting on IndyCar, but he was like, man, it'd be a lot cooler if or not shitting on IndyCar, shitting on F1. He was like, it'd be a lot cooler if these IndyCars were out there running at this street circuit. So it's like he's one of the only only one of the IndyCar guys that are kind of vocal against F1. And you don't see that a lot in IndyCar. You don't see a lot of the IndyCar guys that kind of throw a little bit of shade at the F1 stuff, man, which I find very interesting, especially when you want to grow your series and not create so much of a bias towards one way or the other. But but I mean, people can say the same shit about me doing it for IndyCar. You know what I mean? Like, I try to be biased. It's just I've been very honest about my personal feelings about how I see F1 racing versus IndyCar. But I think a lot of why I love IndyCar is why I love NASCAR. I like oval racing, you know. So the fact that that's there is a big plus for me. And I feel like I feel like I'm not alone there. There's a lot of people that don't care for ovals, but I feel like maybe that is shaped somewhat by narratives that have been pumped out over the last few years.
I mean, yeah, both of us growing up as NASCAR guys, like, I really care about the IndyCar oval product, and I think you nailed it on the head too earlier. You talked about how this whole NASCAR thing, who knows how this shit show's gonna end.
Who do you guys have at Front Stretch reporting on that lawsuit?
We have Michael Massey's there, as well as Dalton Hopkins. They're both actually in court as we're talking right now, like listening to the trial and listening to who's on the stand. Dalton's been tweeting out really good descriptive tweets, kind of like how Matt Weaver's been doing.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't got any, no interviews obviously quite yet, just because everything's just so tense and so.
I doubt you get that during the trial.
Right,
it's just like you saw Bob Hawkers asking questions, and like they got a big group of people around Denny and MJ where they're just kind of like, not today, that's enough for today. I don't think you're going to get a lot of those types of interviews, really. It's just more about reporting on what's happening. Like, we don't even have a sketch artist, dude. Like, we don't even have – I want to see sketches. We got to see that during the Pelot trial. Like, there was, like, sketches released of, Pelot.
The sketcher for Pelot. They did him dirty, bro.
Yeah,
they did him so bad.
Dude, they gapped that dude's hairline so bad, bro. It made me shave my head. I was worried, bro. I was like, damn, they did that boy dirty.
Hey, how's it being a part of the – you did that because of Joey Logano. That was the step that it took to join the bald community, my boy.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest, man, because I think because I was talking so much shit and like giving Joey so much shit about being like hair clubs for men, that when he came out and did that, I was like, man, I gotta fucking put my money where my mouth is, dude. I was like, so I went.
I know offline we've talked about it. Just, man, I'm thinking about going bald, and I was like, man, like
I'm losing my hair, bro. Like, fuck, like I wanted, dude. If you remember,
you don't want to turn to Chase Briscoe. I won't lie.
I'm not going to give Briscoe a hard time, though, because Briscoe fucking, he owns it, bro. Like, he owns it, goes out there. Shout out to Chase Briscoe, one of the balding boys out there. He ain't went full shave yet, But, you know, seeing Logano do it, I feel like because personally, whether he heard it or not, like I talked shit and I was like, man, this motherfucker, he proved me wrong. Like he dropped the shit, dude. And I thought I was like, hell yeah.
He dropped the toupee.
Yeah, dude. It was like, hell yeah. To be completely honest, man, like he did that. And I'm going to be straight up honest, dude. I went to go get my hair cut. And this dude kind of like started fucking up my hair, and like, cause it's already like not there as it is, and he kind of started fucking it up a little bit, and it was this split decision moment where I was like, why do I keep doing this? I was like, put the one on it, dude. I was like, just take it off. He was like, really? I was like, yeah. And then like that was like it like in my mind while he was doing it, I was just thinking about Joey Logano jumping a fucking dirt ramp with a truck, and I was like, hell yeah, dude. I was like,
hell yeah.
I was like, hell yeah, dude. I'm gonna join in, bro. So yeah, that's the cold hard truth, bro. Cold hard truth of what happened.
Did Connor text you after seeing it?
No. Connor's got a lot going on, bro. I haven't really talked to Connor much. Yeah, I'm trying to give him his space, and I feel like if I was in his position, I would probably be on Do Not Disturb pretty much every fucking day, and unless it was like people that were, you know, gonna give me a ride or sponsorship money or meetings, dude. That's really where my head would be at. So I can only speak to what I know I would probably be doing if I was in his shoes. Like I said, so I support him every step of the way, man. He's a good friend, dude, and I love the dude to death, and I want to see him get in a car so bad, bro.
Yeah, it would be a disservice for IndyCar not to have him in the paddock for even at least the Indy 500 for sure, but like for a full season. I mean, he brings a gusto and he brings energy that's much like in a perspective that's much needed in the garage. He's not afraid to call bullshit on people, whether it's drivers, whether it's media, and all that. But he's also a very fair person to approach and talk to, and keeps it real. And I really appreciate someone who does that, and in any sport, much less motorsports, because we get people, not going to name names, around other parts of the sport that aren't like that, and it's annoying to work around people that aren't like Connor, or at least close to how Connor is. And
it makes you appreciate it.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it makes you appreciate it, and I think that's why our dynamic works so well, like on and off, you know, screen or podcast, whatever you want to call it, just because of that.
Because he's real.
Yeah. You don't always get a lot of that, and I feel like, you know, I only knew a lot of people in the NASCAR world and drivers and stuff, and they would always keep it really real with me, you know, in the offs, and like we always kind of knew, like, you know, like the you know, like when you're on television, you got to say certain things, you got to do certain things, and I think that was always kind of something you knew if you worked in NASCAR, like maybe not from a fan perspective, but just from working in the industry, you kind of always knew that. And like, and that exists everywhere. Like you want to promote your sponsors and stuff. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it's just like, yeah, like in terms of somebody that is very real and very raw and very honest, like you don't get that a lot in drivers. Connor's one of those guys. I feel like Graham's kind of one of those guys. So that's how I kind of am, and that's the kind of people I like to be around, dude. Because like, how can you move forward or do anything unless you're being real with yourselves, and you find ways to kind of remove your ego at times to, like, you know, I may have a great idea and then I might talk to you about it, and then you may give me a point where I didn't really consider that and be like, oh shit, like, yeah, I'm glad I talked to you. You know, I can learn from an 8-year-old and an 88-year-old, dude. So I feel like the more of that we would get in motorsport, the better. But there is a lot of ego in racing, and I get that. Like when you're a driver, dude, you've got to be competitive. You've got to kind of have that bravado about you. You've got to have that mindset of like, I'm gonna win today, and that's just kind of something that comes with it. And like, you know, but getting to a point to where you can turn that on and off like a light switch, like that's a skill that is very powerful. And it's something that I feel like a lot of people can benefit from.
I appreciate you, by the way, for earlier saying good stuff about me too. You're a good friend of mine too, and I'll always hold you to that all the time. And shit, I can't wait to get out to St. Peter, wherever the next track we're gonna go out to.
Yeah.
To hang out. But I got one before I let you go. I got one exciting announcement that I haven't put on my socials or anything quite yet.
Okay, what you got?
I got done with the interview with a job outside of racing, just a job to keep life going for me. But that's going to take me up towards just south of Bloomington, Indiana. So I'll be getting up towards the Indiana side of the country, and I'll be closer to covering hopefully more races up in that area and around the INDYCAR calendar. So
that's awesome to hear, brother. Congrats on that.
Yeah, big life move. Big. I'm also waiting on the official offer to come through as well. So that's also pending. But I wanted to let you know.
Oh hell yeah! Round of applause.
You're my friend too.
Round of applause for our guy right here, Wyatt. Sigs in chat for Wyatt, dude. He's moving up. He's moving closer to old Indiana. He's getting ready to cover some racing. Yeah, it's been. I waited out myself, man, like trying to figure out like where to go, and being you're down in Texas and I was in Louisiana, so it's like not a whole lot of racing going on in those parts of the world. So we had to kind of get into different areas to get a little bit closer to everything. So I love that for you, brother. And whenever we get a little bit closer, I did see in the chat that we had somebody say that they had odds out for IndyCar Championship, Indy 500, and Daytona 500. So when we get a little bit closer to the end of the year, closer to January or something, we should definitely get together and go over some of those odds.
Yeah, I'd definitely love to actually join the show on that for next year once we get closer to that. And then,
absolutely.
Hell, I'll actually be in Indiana. I can actually put actionable odds on it without going through VPNs and all that BS. So
they're right.
I'm super, which I've never done on the record.
That's never happened before. We don't do that. We
never happened.
Went all the way to the legal state.
What's up?
You went all the way to the legal state to do your things. You drove all that way.
I had to drive to Louisiana, or I did it if ever I covered on a weekend. I would do it on the opposite series I'm covering for the weekend. You know what I'm saying? So,
you need to get over on Kalshi, dude. Kalshi and Poly Market
too. Yeah,
dude. I've been fucking around with Kalshi a little bit. I tried to start a market for will NASCAR stick to the playoffs or go to a full season points championship. I have no clue if that market has been created yet, but I think you have to get
for the love of God, please.
You have to get for one, you got to have enough NASCAR and racing fans that care about betting on that to go like that post, and then if there's like a certain amount of likes or traction on that, then they'll actually make it a thing you can bet on. So I just made an account like 2 weeks ago, so I haven't even went on there to check and see. I think it had like 2 likes the last time I did it, because I don't think there's a lot of people that care about racing that are on Kalshi. So more race fans, go over to Kalshi so we can make that a market and bet on it, because then we can start. The more race fans we have on Kalshi, the more we can bet on like shit that we can't normally bet on sportsbooks. So help us make markets. We want to make markets.
Hell yeah! Oh my God! Will Connor Daly be in the
could be a market, dude. Could be a market. I'm just saying,
coin.
I'm just saying, dude. Kalshi is legal in all 50 states, bro. You could figure it out. It's not like betting. It's like buying stock, dude. It's crazy the shit that they come up with, and I'm pretty sure like an AI, like somebody coded it using an LLM, dude. Like, so they just vibe coded this entire website. Now it just like is making shit tons of money. Crazy world we're living in right now.
It's a crazy world we live in.
Yes, it is.
The fact that got popular is just wild. That and Poly Market too. That's crazy.
Shout out to Poly Market, dude. Dude, that kid's like a billionaire now, bro. Like just like that fast. It's insane.
Man, the sports books are on their knees. Just fell to its knees. Holy cow! But dude, I appreciate coming back on here.
Yeah, man. Anytime.
All the coverage too. All the people you've had on, Kenny Wallace and everybody that's joined your show that's been giving good analysis. Like you've been killing it, brother.
Well,
Proud of
bro,
you.
I appreciate that more than you know, man. I want to give the fans something that most football and basketball, baseball fans have on television and YouTube 24/7. That was always my goal, man, is just to give back in a way, because there's no live motorsports news shows. There's no talk shows. There's no place where people can call in like that. It's just all podcasts, man. So it's like being able to do something like this has been so fun and rewarding for me to use the resources that I have. I'm grateful for all the resources I have, and obviously I'm grateful. I mean, a couple weeks ago, we've only been like this show started like 3 months ago, maybe?
A month and a half ago?
Or a month and a half ago.
A month or a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
Like that.
I mean, we went from like having 10 people to now I think we had over 60 people watching today. So, I mean, it's like I know that it takes time to grow things, but like when you know what you want to do and you're given something like, this is Pat McAfee racing, baby. Like that's what we doing here, dude. So, yeah, man, I really appreciate all the kind words. Appreciate all the insight too. I'm stoked for you moving to Indiana, man. Derek in the chat here wanted to say, if you want a place where you can work a regular job and also be more able to get involved in racing or just see more racing, Indiana, honestly, if it's not the best state for that, it's on the podium 100%. So
1,000,000%.
Good words
really
there
good.
from
Either that
Derek.
or North Carolina. It's either that or North Carolina,
Yep.
pretty much.
Well, you're gonna be holding it down in Indiana. I'll be over here holding it down in North Carolina, man.
I got to share a drink with David Land or Tony Donahue or something while I'm out there.
There you go.
Know?
Go see
Like,
David, man. I ain't talked to David. I'm gonna have to get David back on the show here soon to give us some intel as well. David's a good friend of me, good friend of the program. He's been on once. We had him call in, so we'll see if we can get him on, and of course we'll get you on at some point too to talk about odds and other things that are happening, man. But always appreciate hearing from you, man. Wyatt, that's Wyatt from Front Stretch. Everybody, y'all make sure to follow him on social media.
Wyatt W Racing. Wyatt W Racing.
Wyatt W
Thanks,
Racing.
man. You have a good one.
All right, brother. You too. That was Wyatt calling in. Big shout out to Wyatt. Met him working some IndyCar races this past year, and we just we hit it off a little bit. So. Kind of checking the notifications before we get back into some news that we're going to cover. Currently, only the latest thing. Okay, so there is something. Uh-oh, here we go. Motorsport Report, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Dave from Daytona Beach.
What's up, Dave? How we doing today?
I'm doing great, brother. How are you doing?
I'm good. How's the sun shining in Daytona today, man?
It's beautiful, man. Played 18 holes of golf this morning, came home and jumped in the pool.
Love that.
I've been watching you for a couple hours. You got a great show, man.
Dude, thank you so much for that, Dave. I appreciate it. This is, I believe, is this your first time calling in?
First time calling, yes, sir.
Hell yeah, I love it. What's on your mind today? You're obviously in Daytona. I'm assuming you're a NASCAR fan. You got any thoughts on everything that's happening right now?
Well, Chase, the first Daytona 500 I went to was 1967, and I was born and raised here. And I can tell you the reason I remember that date was probably nobody knows, but back in the day they used to have a score stand, which was a stand that faced the start-finish line.
Whoa.
And there was a clock, a sequential clock that kind of just numbers rolled over in time. And as the driver went past the start-finish line, you would have two scorers. Each driver would have two people sitting in the stands, and they would write down the number as your driver went by each time, and they had 200 boxes for 200 laps. And my brother actually scored Mario Andretti in 1967, the year Andretti won the 500.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was my first year there, man. That was pretty cool. I can still remember that day.
That's an incredible first race to go to, man. Seeing Andretti, dude.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Definitely. Those were the days, man, when those guys, him and Foyt would come down, and those guys, Rutherford. It was a great place to grow up, and it wasn't so political, and it was kind of easy to become a fan. So one thing I did want to hit before we get on NASCAR again, though, I know you're a big IndyCar guy.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share a quick Indy experience with you. We were about 4 hours north of Homestead.
Okay.
And in 2009, my wife and I said, the IndyCar's racing down there. Let's go down there and watch an IndyCar race. We'd never seen one. So it's about 4 hours, 4.5 hours. We go down there, we tailgate, we sit up in the stands, And I don't know if you remember this race at all. 2009, they didn't have one caution flag. The race lasted an hour and 28 minutes, and Franchitti won, and his average speed, including pit stops, was 201 miles per hour.
Wow, dude. Yeah. It's like that. I'm telling you, until you go and you see those cars on an oval, you just don't understand. Like, it's a whole new way of, like, I grew up a NASCAR fan a long time. I didn't really become an IndyCar fan probably until 2021. My first IndyCar race was the 2021 Indy 500. So I was there, we pulled in, and when I saw those cars on an oval like that, my NASCAR brain like flipped. I immediately like went to thinking like, this is like some Nintendo F-Zero style racing. Like, I didn't know how else to describe it. It was just, it looked like space racing to me because I was so used to stock cars. And so from there it grew on, but that is a race I have not got to watch yet. But now that you mention it, I'm going to have that on my YouTube list to watch the 09 IndyCar race in Homestead. That had to be exhilarating, man, because that's one of the tracks that a lot of people want to see IndyCar go back to.
Oh yeah, they put on a great show. I'd love to see him go back. That would be that I would love to see that.
Yeah, have you watched? Do you kind of like loosely keep up with IndyCar now? Do you watch any at all, or are you more of just like an oval guy, or do you kind of like take in whatever's on whenever you can?
Well, it's funny because I'm a diehard NASCAR fan. I've probably I've road tripped to everywhere in the Southeast. Probably physically been to 100 races or more. And the IndyCar was funny when my dad was still with us. Back in the day, I can still remember he wouldn't let us watch TV or listen to the radio because it was tape delayed. Remember, it used to come on at 9 o'clock at night.
Oh, yeah.
This is way back in the day now. So no, I've always been an Indy 500 fan just because of the spectacle of it.
Right.
We've actually gone to a couple NHRA events, the Gator Nationals over in Gainesville. I go to the Rolex every year. So if it's got an engine and it's going fast, so I try to find a way to get there.
Hell yeah, brother. I feel that, man. It's nothing like it. Like, once you start kind of dabbling into other forms of motorsport, you start to get the itch a little bit. You just like speed, man. That's what I think it was for me mainly growing up. I loved that. But I love to always hear from like longtime NASCAR fans that can kind of like that have peeked behind the curtain and looked at other forms of racing too, because there is a large group of NASCAR fans that have only NASCAR. Like, that's it. That's their box. And I was one of them for a very long time. And then when I did expand and I saw what else was out there, I was like, holy shit, like, this isn't just a one size fits all deal. And that's kind of like, what inspired me to kind of do a little bit more of this program and to talk about everything and just to kind of like get everybody that likes all different forms like together, which I think is really what we need as American race fans now.
Yep, definitely. So, and regarding NASCAR, my thoughts briefly, we didn't get here overnight. It's just been a steady slide ever since probably Mike Helton kind of stepped back, and we became more of an entertainment than a sport, with the stage racing and everything. That's all been beat to death, so I don't need to go there. But it's a shame, because it's when you try to be everything to everybody, you end up losing your core fan base. And I have a feeling that's what's happened here, or I know that's what's happened here. And it's just a shame. They need to kind of go back to, the authenticity. Mark Martin, I think he hits it right on the head. And if they want to go that 10 race chase, that's almost acceptable. But, my wife and I would joke all the time. I was a big Senior fan. Can you imagine sitting in a room with Dale Earnhardt Sr. and telling him this new, or the way they were going to determine a champion now? I mean, that he would have looked at him like they had 10 heads. Like, this is bullshit. So it's just I don't want to beat all these dead horses that everybody's already beat, but it's just the same. Hopefully, there's some brighter days in the future.
Absolutely, brother. I'm right there with you on that sentiment, man. I want to see I want to see NASCAR survive and thrive. I want the right people to come in there, a little bit more passion maybe. I think that, a lot of people talk about there's not much contrast between how authoritarian NASCAR has been, but I at least look back at Bill France, Senior and all them. They at least had passion attached to what they were doing, and I feel like when you lose a lot of that passion, it just kind of becomes about money a lot of things can get lost in between the cracks. So I really appreciate you calling in, man. I don't know if I'll be in Daytona this year, but I've been to Daytona quite a lot. I used to spend a lot of time over at the Hooters across from the track. So I did some work with Hooters. Well. Yeah, man, they have a really great event that they put on. I hate that they're I hate how everything went for them. I know that they had bankruptcy and everything like that, but we did a little bit of work for them before all that happened when they were still with Chase Elliott. I had a previous podcast I was working on, and great people, great times. Always put on a great show for the race fans over there across the track. So love Daytona, man. Yep. It's a great city.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
All right, brother. Well, it was great to hear from you. Keep calling, and thanks so much, man. We appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Jake. Have a great day, man.
You as well, brother. Our guy calling in, Mike from Daytona, calling in, just was hanging out by the pool. I love that, man. Love hearing from people that are in those big heart of racing towns like that. That's people that have been a part of it for years and years, man. And I feel like a lot of their voices are definitely deserving of being heard in this time. There was a post that came out. I'll swap us over to browser view really quick. Adam Stern dropped this at 1:58, which was probably a little bit about a half an hour ago. Here's what 2311 Racing says it paid to NASCAR last year, including $168,000 on internet and data analytics to use at tracks. NASCAR expenses, 6081 NASCAR licenses team. Pre-licensing's drug testing, $5,440. NASCAR licenses, $2,999 and $2,999,905. Licenses team, so the total for drug tests and that, $305,345. Entry fees, $278,401. NASCAR penalties, $200,000. Internet and data analytics, $168,357. Whoa, dude, for internet, bro, and data. And SMT data is separate from that. $42,466 for a grand total of $994,569. And that is what 2311 paid to NASCAR. So almost $1 million for all of that right there alone. And that, dude, the S&T and the internet stuff is wild, man. Which is one thing I haven't really talked a lot about it, but I mean, a lot of you guys know I'm passionate about artificial intelligence and ways that it can be used in racing. A lot of people nowadays just think AI means making pictures and writing emails, but it's so much deeper than that of what's possible with AI technology. It really is just like Python scripts that are basically models that can do certain things, and like you can code these things easier than ever now, which is cool. But I think that for a viable future for a lot of these teams, like especially when I look and see like what they're having to pay for all that shit, the SMT data and stuff like that, this is where teams need to really look at investing in their own in-house AI systems. And I think that it's something that I want to advocate for heavily moving into the future. I feel like every team should have to, go out and get you about 8 NVIDIA chips. They're not cheap, but if you spend that one-time cost on them, you start building out those internal models, let the teams only share their data, I think competition will really ramp up because you're having to control all that shit in-house and you have an in-house team dedicated to it. It takes away everyone having the ability to see what everyone's doing, and I feel like whereas competition's gotten so tight now, you can widen those gaps a little bit. We had Ryan Blaney on talking about how can we change the way that data is used in NASCAR right now. And I think that by teams looking to hire, not just partnering with these people in Silicon Valley that really maybe don't know much about racing, but getting people that get a little bit of experience that are also race fans to kind of go in and help build up these systems for each individual team, I think is a very viable future to add a little bit a little bit more competitive element to racing, something that I'm advocating for big time. And if you haven't thought about that, or if you'd like to elaborate, or if you'd like me to elaborate more on it, feel free to reach out anytime. Maybe I'll do a couple of videos on that, of what that future could look like. But I think that there's some drivers that would be all in favor of that type of regime. And it cuts out you having to pay for all that shit, because you can start generating it internally. So there's a lot of different ways things can move in this sport, but awesome. I think if you were looking to get into NASCAR and you were looking to figure out what costs would look like so that you could pitch and go get funding and stuff from people, this is a great case study for you. That's one thing I'll say, is you get to see all the financial shit. It gives you a really good baseline to understand where things are and where things stack. So that's one cool thing about, I guess, this court trial, is really kind of understanding it. Hopefully, there's room for improvement and growth, and hopefully NASCAR finds a way to work this out. Still awaiting word on Richard Childress being up on the stand. I don't see any new notifications from any of the major players that I've been following on this case. So I know the last thing I know is that they were out at lunch, and that they must be back in the courtroom now, because everyone's kind of gone silent. So something's happening. I know I can at least speak to that. Something's definitely happening. Catching up in the chat here a little bit. Connor just kind of making Connor Wrigley making a statement on the internet, like 10G or something. Yeah, gotta be. Didn't Brad K do a talk or something about using AI for racing? I could have sworn I saw it. Probably. He's kind of the Elon of NASCAR. I've always said that. Brad K is definitely kind of the Elon of NASCAR. He owns a 3D printing company aside from what he does with RFK. So he's definitely into like futuristic technology and things like that. And I myself am big into that stuff. I think I've been waiting on the future since I was a small child. I thought we were going to have flying cars by the time I got to 30. I'm 33 now, and I feel like we're just figuring out how to do that. They got this one company, Palmer Luckey, was doing some shit with, because like I've been following a series that is in development right now called Air Speeder, not to be confused with Air Speed, the company that Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan have, aside from 23XI or 2311 for the people that get mad when I say XI because they don't think I understand Roman numerals. Just wanted to say that I do understand Roman numerals. Air Speeder is really cool. They're doing like some type of like, it's like a drone. It's almost like a drone racing league in a way, but it's like manned drones. And I think that would be a really exciting series, like when they can figure out how to get the technology right. I saw something the other day where they were looking at putting an Android inside of the cockpit of the drone that is manned by a person inside, like on a simulator kind of, that's using cameras to drive it, kind of similarly to the way that people control drones now with their phones. So however that looks, because obviously safety is a big important thing with that. When you got these guys racing in the air, you get into a crash, I mean, that could be rough. So figuring out ways to like make it a reality, I think is pretty cool. So kind of like a drone racing league, but like with manned drones maybe, or like androids in them that you're flying in a room or something. I don't know. I just think it's cool that they're trying to figure that shit out. Did want to go over a couple things. It is now 2:36 p.m. These shows are getting longer and longer by the week, but did want to show off a little something that I did see outside of all the court news in NASCAR. We've talked a little bit about INDYCAR. For all the Chase Elliott fans that are watching, I did see this come out from Hendrick today, which I think is one of the most badass Napa paint schemes that we've had in a very long time. It's the 2026 Napa Racing Scheme. I'll zoom in a little bit on that so everybody can see it. I love the stripe going down the side here. It kind of gives it that retro look, kind of that like 70s, late 70s, early 80s vibe. Anytime that they're able to kind of put, like, this has always been a great paint scheme, obviously, for a lot of people, but like giving it that kind of like a retro futuristic look with that stripe, I think is pretty sick. So for all the Chase Elliott fans, I know my dad's happy out there. My dad's a Chase Elliott fan. He's a DI9 gang. And they had a really cool little announcement video that they did. That was loud. But yeah, they made it like a video.
Pick your scheme.
Sega! I don't know what they're trying to say right there. Are they like screaming like in a weird way? Or are they like going like Daytona? I don't know. I thought it was cool they made like a video game. Also, the court has the trial, just to show you guys, like a lot of people were like, this hasn't even made national news. Well, there's Yahoo News. And Jordan Bianchi did a spot on CBS Morning News. So this definitely is in the public eye now. And the rest of this stuff is just a ton of bookmarks that I've got from, Hammonds, you know, I'm talking, Daytona! That's what it sounded like, at least. Alex Palou is in Spain. He's been doing some stuff over there with them Barcelona boys and the football club of Barcelona. So Alex Palou is out there just doing his thing. There's the Cadillac F1 rumor thing that came out. This was a really cool little thing I saw today, too. Speaking of why Brad K is the Elon. We'll get back to it after this call. Motorsport Report, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, this is Jamie from Lake Norman.
What's up, Jamie? Good to hear from you again, brother. How's things going for you this week?
Good. I was at the trial the first day one. Got there at 4:45, and no one was at the courthouse except people walking their dogs and letting their dogs poop everywhere.
Oh, wow. I heard they had a wreck out there today, too. Somebody wrecked in front of the courthouse today. That's what I saw.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, day one, when they came out, they went to lunch and came back, and they stepped in dog poop.
Oh, damn, dude. They're stepping in the dog poop out there. So you got to actually go to the courthouse. What was it like going there on day one, and who did you see? What did you see? Did you hear anything? How are people reporting to us? Because I know they got to lock the phones up for people that are in the courtroom. Are there people like standing out of the door that are just like trying to listen? Like what's happening?
Well, I was there, and Mike Helton and Jim France and his sister, I forgot her name, France Kennedy, they walked up diagonal from like downtown. The square, and then about 10 minutes later, Michael Jordan's motorcade pulled up, and I videotaped him. And as he approached the steps of the courthouse, I said, "Good morning, Michael," and I said, "Good luck, sir." And he gave me a smirk, a side-eyed smirk, and so there was definitely some drama on day one. I wasn't there day two.
Okay. Yeah, I know a lot came out yesterday, and I know today the big thing everyone's waiting on, and what we've been talking about on the show pretty much all day, is waiting on to see what happens when Richard Childress takes the stand. I do know that like Jordan Bianchi and Jeff Gluck, they'll probably be talking all about it tonight on the Teardown live on YouTube, so that's something I encourage everybody to check out tonight. But
Bob Hawker dropped his earbud at the lockers inside the courthouse.
Oh man!
And I picked up his earbud. He dropped him, trying to put him in his locker.
Oh wow! So yeah, so they've all got lockers and everything. So when you're in there, like were you able to go into the courthouse? Like obviously, it's like from what I've heard, it's first come first serve at getting in there to sit down. They moved it to the main courtroom. They're leaving the doors open. How can you kind of speak to how they're keeping? Are they keeping people like from overcrowding it, overflooding it? Like, are there people that are out in the hallways just kind of standing around waiting? Like, what is that scene like?
Well, the scene is you need current valid ID to get into the court past the security, and there are so few people. There's not a problem with overflow.
Okay, wow. So there aren't a ton of people. So that's for anybody that is in the area that wants to go. You just bring your ID, you go through security, and then you can get right in. Did they make you put your phone away when you went in?
Absolutely, yes. I had a tablet, and Bob was like, "I don't think there's a locker big enough for that." And there was like 4 big lockers, and the rest phones 5.
Okay. So that's all it really has to do. So, and pretty much everyone, the information that we're getting, I'm sure a lot of these journalists and stuff, they're going into these courtrooms. Are they allowed to hold on to like notepads or anything like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. That's what I figured.
No electronic devices.
That's what I figured. So grab a legal pad, get your state issued ID, and head down to the courthouse, dude. I don't know.
Exactly.
I got a day off tomorrow and Friday. I may have to make my way up there, to be honest with you. Are you going to be going any more days?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I get off work about anywhere from 2 to 3 a.m., and I made the mistake of being there at 4:45 on day one. It was cold, and I was tired.
I can imagine, brother. I can imagine. So most of the guys, they're getting there usually around, 7 a.m. or earlier?
Like Michael Jordan's and the principal people show up about 8:30.
Okay, so about 8:30. So that's really good information to know. So if there is anybody watching that's thinking about going up to the courthouse, now you just got to lock up your electronics. You can bring a state issued ID, go through security, and you can be there. And from what we're hearing from you, brother, it sounds like. Sounds like just bring the legal pad and the pen, dude. Do some reporting. It's a great way for people to start that wanted to report on things in this industry. That's a great way for people to get in, because now you don't have to worry about filing for a credential from NASCAR to get the scoop on things. And here you can go straight into the courthouse and you can start covering. That's pretty cool. Bless you.
Oh, pardon me.
No worries.
Yes, and 8:30 a.m. they open the doors to the public. So.
At 8 a.m. you said?
8:30.
8:30 a.m. they're opening the doors to the public. So that's good to know. What are your thoughts? I know that you called in last week and you're a part of the NASCAR Fan Council. You sound like somebody you've been a part of this for a long time. With Richard Childress taking the stand today, do you have a suspicion on how that might go? And what are your thoughts on if maybe we'll see NASCAR look to settle, or if they will at all at this point?
I don't think that's going to happen. The settlement I think we're past that. They could, but I don't think they're willing to. As far as Richard Childress goes, he's going to be like a, pardon the phrase, pissed off teenager on the stand.
I could see that. I could see it. He has every right to be pissed. I mean, he came out and said he's looking at doing, potential legal action on his own. So I think that's the big thing that everyone is very, very hype about. They want to know what Richard's going to have to say. And with Kessler asking the questions, I imagine it's going to get spicy.
Yeah, because there's no rule or law against stating your opinion if asked on the stand, and Richard Childress never has a problem sharing his opinion.
No, he does not. We know that very well in this world. So that's all great information. I'm glad you got to get up there, man, and check out the scene. And like I said, I know that there's maybe some people that are watching that were thinking about it now. They maybe have a little bit more information that they're able to do that. Pretty much anybody in the public, that's the way our court system works. So it's really cool to hear that it's working that way on this end as well. You got any other? Yeah.
I hate to be a self-promotion.
No, please do. Please do.
Go to my page, you'll see the pictures and video that I shot on day one.
Where can people find that information? What's the website called?
I don't. It's a YouTube. Just Jamie Schweitzer. I'll type on the chat so you can see my name. But yeah, it's just my regular YouTube. I don't have like a established channel like you. I just post videos on my account,
Well, yeah, drop that in the chat so everybody can check out what you're doing and what you've been able to see and cover, man. I love to hear that. So I appreciate you, and don't feel bad about that at all. We need more people out there that can give us the scoop from different points of view, man. So I think that's a cool thing that you're doing. But yeah, feel free to type that in the chat for everybody to check out. And then thanks again for calling back in. I really do appreciate hearing from you. You're our NASCAR Fan Council OG on this show now, Jesse.
I appreciate it, man. And have a good day.
All right, you too, brother. Take care. There we go. That's all Jesse calling in from Lake Norman. David in the chat says, it seems the hosts on Sirius are constantly defending themselves, especially lately. If you have to tell us that you're giving your real opinion or you're not paid by NASCAR, that's telling, in my opinion. I may have started that because I don't know if any of you guys that are watching me follow me on X. A couple weeks ago, I clipped a segment from this show where I talked about how do you expect people that are paid by NASCAR to speak openly about their true feelings. And I'm not to say that maybe, like I said, if you work for NASCAR, usually you're not going to say anything bad about NASCAR. I think what Denny Hamlin said in court yesterday kind of gave some validation to that. And yeah, I mean, that's, I don't want to, I'm not trying to badmouth any of those guys. Like I said, I got a lot of respect for Dave Moody. He worked really hard to get into radio, and that's what he does for a living. And me, as a kid that grew up that wanted to get into radio, and I'm kind of doing it my own way, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, the NASCAR XM channel is owned by NASCAR, so you can do the math on that. It's not to say anything bad about the people. I like a lot of the people that work there, but if you're tuning into that radio station expecting to hear some differing opinion from NASCAR, I don't really know if you're going to get that other than callers. And what I've been told by people that do call in is that usually you get yelled at. I don't know. I just like to hear a lot of different perspectives, and I'm going to be honest with you guys about what I feel and what I see. And I try to get as many guests on this show with higher credibility, just like a NASCAR radio station would do, to talk a little bit about it. But just like having a space where we can all kind of have a little more trust and vibe in the chat, on the calls, things like that. So that's why we do what we do. Gonna do a quick refresh here. I know we were going through all of our bookmarks. Just want to make sure that we hit pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about today. I'm pretty sure we have. I was getting ready to show you guys this really cool wrap on the RFK car. I was telling you all that, Brad K is kind of the Elon Musk of NASCAR. And when you see this car, you'll understand that it's almost it's basically all the CAD, the CAD drawings. So you can see like the suspension, you can see all the internals of the car. They've painted them on the outs, which is really neat. And I guess that this is a pit practice car for them. So that's really cool. We'll zoom in a little bit. Let me zoom out some and zoom in. You can kind of see here where you can see some of those components that are inside the car. It kind of just shows you what things look like if it was like an X-ray, which is pretty sick. So do like that. Connor says our guy on the inside. Shout out to Jesse. Whoa, we zoomed in heavy. Some other things that I had pulled up. Obviously, Gateway Dirt Nationals is this week. The Snowball Derby is this week. If you're itching for some racing, if you kind of want to turn your attention away, here's a good friend of the show, Kenny Wallace. The Gateway Dirt Nationals have started. My dear friend Dan Ebert and his team stopped in to see me. So a lot of people rolling into the St. Louis area right now for that. And I've got this pulled up right here as a paint scheme preview to kind of show you guys a little bit of that action that we're going to be seeing at the Gateway Dirt Nationals. I mean, just look at it. Look at old Kenny. That just looks fucking exhilarating. Modifieds, late models. That just looks like a fun time. If you're a NASCAR fan, Carson Hocevar is going to be racing out there in this one in a Chili's car. Kyle McFadden put this up for Bobby Pierce. It looks like a Fallout scheme, which if you are a fan of Fallout like I am, I played a lot of video games growing up. Fallout was one of my favorite video games and one of the shows that I like to watch on Amazon. So it's really cool to see this Fallout paint scheme. It's if you don't know what Fallout is, it's kind of like a dystopian world where, like in the 50s, the atom bomb was made and they basically blew up the world, and all the technology was like what we have today, but back then, and how it evolved over time. Really, really cool setup. Fallout is sick. Then we have the looks like Brandon Overton running in the Bud is back. He's got a Budweiser car, which is going to be pretty sick. We've got old Shepard here. Let's see. Yeah. Shepard, who is this for? We roll into Gateway as back. Yeah, Brandon Shepard. I like the pink and the neon yellow that's on there. It looks good. What's this right here? We've got Todd Brennan Racing from Brian Shirley. That's kind of got Evel Knievel vibes to it. That's pretty sick. What else we got? We got Jesse's Well Chicken. Carson Ferguson is teamed with Cale Green Motorsports for the Dome. Stroker Ace, dude. There we go. And there's Carson Hocevar's Chili's Ride the Dente. For the NASCAR fans that didn't know, Carson was running in Gateway Dirt Nationals. There you go. Daytona USA theme song. Up yonder. What we got here? This is Garrett Albertson's. Kind of a nice simplistic one. More 90s excellence. See, I love it when they do these throwbacks, man. I love a good throwback on a car. This looks sick with the green and the dice doing the throwback to the Kodiak, dude. Kenny Schrader. Love that. Giving the Missouri boys some love, man. Rayburn, that's a clean one. Who's this? Kyle Bronson Motorsports. Okay. What is this? This is Kyle Hardy's Grinch theme, so he's got his Christmas stuff going on. He brought the Snowball Derby to St. Louis. Yeah, gonna have to bust out the Chili's rope hat this weekend, says Connor. Absolutely. My kid wants one of those. This is fucking badass, dude. Mike Marlar bringing Monster Jam vibes. Who remembers Maximum Destruction, dude? If you were a Monster Jam kid, you know what I'm talking about. That's badass. So we got that. The Budweiser one again. Let's see. We've got Thornton is going to be running this night. That's a normal looking one. Nothing really. These are autism awareness right here. Tanner English. And then we've got, this is sick, dude. Who is this? Turbo 91. Is that I think I know who this is. I can't remember his name. I'm trying to remember Turb. They called him, somebody in the chat help me with this one. Who's Turbo? That's what we were saying during World Finals. See, I'm still learning a lot of this stuff. Turbo. So I can only imagine it's like, I think he had Turbo in his name, maybe? I'm not sure. But this is cool. Tyler something? I don't know. Tyler Peterson bringing the juice. This one's sick. That's got those cups you used to get at the doctor's office back in 98 vibes to it on the sides. Except it's not purple, green, and white. So, yeah, that's about it. This is going to kill me. Since we're done with this article, I've just got to see who this is. Tyler Erb. That's it. Dude's got Stone Cold. Dude's got Stone Cold as his banner. That's fucking sick. All right, so, yeah, Tyler Erb. They call him Turbo. I knew the guy. And then to kind of go into a little bit more of this, there was this, here it is right here. Gateway Dirt Nationals and Snowball Derby Ultimate Watch Guide. Thomas says, gotta love the Tom Mintz late model paint. There's also someone running a Monster Patrol tribute paint. Nice. So this right here, this is kind of a schedule of what to expect. So Tuesday, December 2nd, Snowball Derby kickoff show at Ticket Sports Bar. That was yesterday at 7 p.m. Today, Snowball Derby hauler parking is going on. Snowball Derby qualifying draw will be happening at 6 p.m. tonight. And then tomorrow, which will be Thursday, let me zoom in here so you guys can see this a little bit better. Thursday, December the 4th, 9:45 a.m., Snowball Derby broadcast begins. 10 to 4 will be the Snowball Derby and Snowflake 100 practice. You can watch all this on Flow Racing. 2:45 Gateway Dirt Nationals broadcast begins. 3 p.m. you have the Gateway Dirt Nationals hot laps and qualifying. 5 p.m., and I'm pretty sure this is all Eastern time, Snowball Derby Pro Truck, Sportsman, and Pure Stock practice qualifying. 5 p.m. Gateway Dirt Nationals heat races, B mains, and A mains. So we'll get those dirt racing fix tomorrow kicking off. Thank you, Dave, for the reminder. And then 7:45 p.m. Snowball Derby Pro Truck, Sportsman, and Pure Stock features. So that'll be Thursday. That'll be tomorrow. So that's your schedule for tomorrow. Friday, 9:45 a.m., the Derby broadcast begins down there in Pensacola. 10 a.m., Snowball Derby practice, Snowflake 100 practice at 10:45. You can kind of see all this. As long as you guys can read all this, you can pause and check it out. But Practice qualifying 8 p.m. Those will be for Snowball Derby, Gateway Dirt Nationals, heat races, B mains and A mains start at 5 p.m. The broadcast for Dirt Nationals starts at 2:45 p.m. on Friday. And Saturday is when we get some more practice. We got some more A mains, B mains, some A mains going on in the dirt world. So the track activity will start at 3 p.m. on Saturday, 9:45 for Snowball Derby on Saturday. And then Sunday, 11 a.m. Snowball Derby pre-race show. And then 1 p.m., 58th Annual Snowball Derby. So all the action for Gateway Dirt Nationals will end on Saturday, December 6th. And then on Sunday, you'll have Snowball Derby action. So you can make sure to watch that on Flow. And that's where you can get all that action. Jamie Welter says, I predict NASCAR calls Dale Jr. to the stand. Boy, that'd be something. That would be something. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but that would be some shit. It really would. I'm excited about some racing, though, this weekend. At least during this trial, we'll have a little bit of racing to watch over on Flow. We'll have Gateway Dirt Nationals. We'll have Snowball Derby. So there is racing going on, and I will keep you guys kind of like covered on that, especially going into next week's show. We'll talk all about what happened at the Gateway Dirt Nationals. We'll talk about how Snowball Derby played out, and we will continue talking about this NASCAR versus 2311 FRM lawsuit. I think I have us a guest lined up for next week. Not 100% sure, but as you all know, I will let you know in the pre-show tweet or the pre-show post now, since it's x.com, as long as you follow me at Garage Guy Chase on all social media platforms. I make it easy for everybody to follow at Garage Guy Chase, spelled exactly as it sounds. I can't thank you guys enough. No, I'm not streaming the Dirt Nationals. I wish I was. Big shout out to Dirt Vision for letting me do World Finals. Don't really know anybody on the Flow side, really, but that's not to say that maybe it'll be like that forever. I would love to be streaming it. But I just want to thank all you guys for tuning in today, for watching, for all the phone calls that we've had. Big thanks to Travis Rockhold for coming on, talking to us a little bit about his relationship with Denny Hamlin, working with him and working for Dirty Mo Media. We learned a lot about him today that we didn't know. And learned a lot from you guys in the chat as always. And just always great to chop it up with you guys and talk racing, every week. And as we continue to grow this, the more we grow, the more money we can pull in around this show, the more I can eventually get to doing it the way I want to, which would be a daily program. And so, yeah, tell somebody you know today about Motorsport Report that may not know about it. Bring them on and let them watch next Wednesday when we go live. And make sure you follow me on social media at Garage Guy Chase. Love to hear from you guys over on the socials as well. Been a great show today. Thanks again, everyone. And we will be back at it next Wednesday. This has been the Motorsport Report, Motorsport News for you.